Chapter 622. This was because Zhuo realized that most of the enemies that he encountered later on were people that he couldn't handle. Even though his cultivation had improved greatly, he still couldn't handle them. Previously, everything had been smooth sailing. He could even kill Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators when he caught them off guard. Even in a head-on battle, there were already a few Cloud Transformation Realm cultivators who had died at the hands of Zhuo. However, when he encountered a nascent Soul Transformation Realm cultivator, Zhuo almost couldn't defeat him. If he hadn't recognized the situation in time and used his trump card to turn the situation around, he would have been defeated. Through this unexpected battle, Zhuo realized that he wasn't the only one who knew how to compress his true core strength to obtain a stronger cultivation base. Everyone wanted to have a broader future in the martial arts path. Taking the nascent Soul Transformation Realm cultivator from before as an example, Zhuo estimated that this guy had stepped onto the thorny road at least 6 times. He had suppressed his true core strength at least 4 or 5 times in the embryonic breathing realm. He had even suppressed his true core strength several times in the primordial elixir realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so difficult to deal with. Such a nascent Soul Transformation Realm cultivator was already like Zhuo, who could easily fight those of a higher level. It had to be said that the previous battle was quite a shock to Zhuo. When he suddenly encountered someone who was alone, Master Yu also reminded him that the person was a nascent Soul Transformation Realm cultivator. Then, Zhuo rushed forward. In the end, when the long swords of both parties collided, Zhuo was directly pushed back. However, the other party only swayed a little, that was all. Regarding this result, Zhuo couldn't believe it at first. He felt that it was inconceivable. I can even kill a Cloud Transformation Realm cultivator. How can I lose to a Shao Soul Transformation Realm cultivator? However, reality was cruel. Although in the end, Zhuo relied on the strong combination of sword techniques, divine weapons, and hidden weapons to take down the opponent without using his ultimate trump card, the Big Hammer, the process wasn't smooth sailing. It was full of ups and downs, and he was half dead from exhaustion. In addition, his body was full of injuries. If he didn't have a bodyguard by his side, Zhuo definitely wouldn't have dared to do this. Doing such a thing was tantamount to delivering themselves into the hands of others. There are so many talents in the world. What a pity. In the end, you're still not as good as me, the great genius. Zhuo sighed. Supremacy Yu was disgusted by the sight, and the urge to beat someone up increased. Tian Wujiang was alone, and his whereabouts were exceptionally mysterious. His current whereabouts were already close to Zhuo's level of mystery. There was no other way. He suspected that everyone he met now might be from Shui's City No. 1 middle school. They were all here to assassinate him. He didn't dare to trust anyone. He had been sneaky all the way, and he still had to concentrate to look for Zhuo. It could be said that Tian Wujiang was the most diligent person in the search for Zhuo. For so many days, he had been searching without sleep or rest. As the old saying goes, Kung Fu pays off for those who work hard. Tian Wujiang, who was lurking in the shadows, almost cried tears of joy when he saw the bald man sneaking around. He lamented that the heavens had eyes and treated him well. Zhuo is here. I've been waiting for him. I've finally been waiting for him. Tian Wujiang held his breath and waited quietly. He had to catch him firmly, and he had to succeed as soon as possible. Then he would immediately flee. Boss, there's someone lurking in front. He's an expert. Xiao Long took the initiative to report the news. He's at that rocky beach in the forest. So Zhuo indicated that he understood. Then he muttered in a low voice, There's a ghost at that rocky beach in front. Why do I feel that it's not like that? Supremacy's son, who was following him with his divine sense, couldn't help but be stunned. Rocky beach in front? It's still dozens of miles away. How did you find it? Feeling? Is there such a sensitive feeling in this world? Am I too ignorant and inexperienced? However, he would rather believe it than not. There had been too many exclamations from this bastard kid. He immediately used his divine sense to check what was going on. With this look, he naturally saw Tian Wujiang lying there quietly. His whole body was disguised in the same color as the surroundings. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it. However, Supremacy Sun's cultivation was much higher than Tian Wujiang's. He saw it with a glance. Not only did he see it, he also recognized the person's true identity. Isn't this the person Gu Qianfan wants to kill? Supremacy Sun muttered in his heart. Should I kill him? Should I capture him? This guy is now the target of Gu Qianfan's students. If I capture and kill him like this, I'm afraid that old man will turn around and find trouble with me. He pondered as he slowly approached. Sure enough, when he saw Zhuo Xiaoduo getting closer and closer, Tian Wujiang couldn't wait to rush out. Zhuo Xiaoduo! Aha! Damn! No. Supremacy Sun slapped him away. He was plastered on the side of the mountain like paste. Blood directly splashed out in a range of 17 to 18 meters. After pausing for 2 seconds, he stared in disbelief and slid down like noodles. Humph, I'll spare your life. Supremacy Sun snorted coldly. Just treat it as me reducing the difficulty for the students of Water City First High School. Gu Qianfan, that old man's temper is not to be trifled with. I'll leave it to him. What a pity, just as he was about to leave. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo rushed over like a gust of wind and took the interspatial ring from the dying Tian Wujiang's hand. He said apologetically, You're already injured like this. I don't think you'll need it anymore. Give it to me. I'll help you do good deeds and build bridges and roads. Tian Wujiang wanted to roar. Who said I don't need it? I'm injured. You took away my space ring. Are you going to treat me? I've never repaired a bridge or paved a road in my life. I don't need it. But when he opened his mouth, only a ball of blood gushed out. He couldn't roar a single word. So Xiaoduo wiped the blood on the ring with Tian Wujiang's sleeve and then naturally put it into his pocket. He said sincerely to Tian Wujiang, Take care. Tian Wujiang looked at him with grief and indignation. He was so angry that he couldn't breathe and fainted. Damn you, you took it all away. How can I take care of myself? How can I take care of myself? Supremacy Sun couldn't help but look at Zhuo Xiaoduo with a strange expression. This kid, this style of doing things, this feeling of being so poor that he went crazy. It actually reminded Supremacy Sun of a legendary figure that hadn't appeared for a long time. This style of doing things was simply of the same origin. No, it should be said that compared to that person back then, this one in front of him seemed to be a little lacking. His experience, realm, and eyesight were still lacking. He carefully observed Zhuo Xiaoduo's appearance. His eyebrows, his face, this charm. His Supremacy Sun sucked in a breath of cold air. It can't be? Zhuo Xiaoduo scratched his head. Seeing Supremacy Sun staring at him with wide eyes, he couldn't help but reveal a shy smile. Uncle, what are you looking at? It was a bashful smile. He really gave off the feeling of being cultured, refined, and courteous. Supremacy Sun instantly combined this face with a certain gentle and refined and handsome face in his memory. He couldn't help but shudder, saying in a trembling voice, You flatter me, you flatter me. Zhuo Xiaoduo was taken aback when he heard this. What kind of reaction is this? With your cultivation and strength, what is there that you don't dare to accept? Only the heavens knew that Supremacy Sun's heart was already in his throat. Heavenly King of the Right's reaction, Patriarch Nan of the South, is protecting him. My brain is really muddled with soy sauce. How can I not think of this? But even if he thought of it now, he didn't dare to say it. Just as Heavenly King of the Right had said, If I could tell you his identity, wouldn't I have told you long ago? Mummy, Supremacy Sun was on tenterhooks. No wonder. But he was really curious. That person, he wasn't young anymore, right? He hadn't come up with anything for so many years. Why? Did this thing suddenly appear? He couldn't help but sigh. The old ancestors' proverb really didn't lie. As the saying goes, dragons give birth to dragons, phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, the son of a mouse knows how to dig holes. Sure enough, the son of a Pishio is also a money grubber. After leaving, Tian Wujiang quietly opened his eyes. After confirming that he was safe, he finally let out a sigh of relief. It's good that he didn't die. If he didn't die, everything would come to an end. But he still couldn't understand. Why did Supremacy's son want to protect Zhuo Xiaoduo? If he knew that there was Supremacy's son protecting him, only a fool would come. That was seeking death. And Supremacy's son didn't kill him? Could it be because of Guqi and Fan? Tian Wujiang was not a fool. He immediately thought of the reason. Damn it, he's treating me as a whetstone. Tian Wujiang didn't know whether he was sad or happy. Happy because he had temporarily saved his life and there was still room for him to live. Sad because, sooner or later, he would be stabbed. Hidden Dragon High School and the rest had already met up with the people from Water City First High School. Even Grandma Sher had returned to the team and gathered together with Xing Tian, Vice Principal Chung, and the rest. Now, a large group of people was looking for Zhuo Xiaoduo in the entire Starlight Mountain range. They had already circled around the Three Demon Kings area several times. But under the deliberate instructions of Ri, Yu, and Xing, they had all avoided them in advance. If they met those people in advance, first, there wouldn't be many assassins who would dare to come. Second, there would be a large-scale battle. Of course, they weren't afraid, but Hidden Dragon High School and Water City First High School would definitely have casualties. Of course, there was a third point. Hidden Dragon High School would strictly protect this guy and even directly send him back. That way, this plan would be abandoned halfway and couldn't be completed. So, they didn't let Zhuo Xiaoduo meet up with them. And Zhuo Xiaoduo was also happy to have a super bodyguard following him, allowing him to take the opportunity to make a fortune. And on the other side, Qin Fangyang had already rushed into the Starlight Mountain range. Blood splattered under his sword. He had already killed several groups of bounty hunters and was searching all the way to the Three Demon Kings Valley. Yi Changqing and the rest looked around in circles, but they couldn't find him. They couldn't even find a clue. Occasionally, they would clearly hear the sound of fighting, but when they ran over, there was nothing. This kind of thing happened many times. Everyone came to a realization. This guy isn't deliberately hiding from us, is he? Looking for monthly votes, recommendation tickets, and subscriptions. Tomorrow is my birthday. Cough. Maybe I don't have much time to write. I'll write tonight and update tomorrow morning. Chapter 623. Everyone from Hidden Dragon High School frowned. Thinking about Zhuo Xiaoduo's usual behavior, he was crafty and eccentric, as naughty as a monkey, and as cheap as a bitch. The possibility of him hiding from everyone was very high. That little bastard. Wait till I catch him. I'll beat him half to death. When Xing Tian had already cursed this sentence thousands of times in the past few days, he was getting more and more exasperated. In the end, when he opened his mouth, everyone could guess what he was going to say. They even took the initiative to say, being his class teacher is so fucking tiring. Sigh. Everyone rolled their eyes at this. If you're so fucking tired, give it to us. But you won't let us. You have the face to call Zhuo Xiaoduo cheap. It's all your fault. Look for the area in front. If there's nothing, let's go back to the mountaintop and wait. Yi Changqing smiled bitterly. This kid. I don't know where he got his trump card from. He actually dares to play like this. In the previous few battles, his opponents were definitely not ordinary. That kid must have something to rely on, otherwise he wouldn't be like this. That was the reason. This was already a consensus that Zhuo Xiaoduo was definitely not in danger. If not, with this kid's cowardly personality, he wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Therefore, although they couldn't find him now, they were more and more relieved. The mountain here collapsed. When Xing Tian looked at the collapsed mountain peaks on both sides and studied for a while, this should be the time when the Centipede King was playing with the ring, right? I remember it was here. Yi Changqing nodded, indicating that he didn't remember wrongly. The Centipede King just finished a battle. This place collapsed. This place just collapsed. There shouldn't be any signs. Even if Xiaoduo dug a hole again, he wouldn't choose to dig here. Everyone glanced at it and lost interest. Might as well find a few unlucky people to rob the rich and give to the poor. They turned around and were about to leave. Suddenly, Grandma Sher's gaze froze, and she said in a low voice, "Wait. There. Why does it seem like there's movement? Something seems to be coming out from the ground." Everyone turned around. Sure enough, they saw that the ground over there was a faint movement, very light. It was as if something was trying hard to get out, but it didn't have enough strength. Seeing the strange situation in front of him, when Xing Tian had an idea. His eyes lit up, and he quickly made a hand gesture. Voice transmission. Everyone slowly retreated, but naturally formed a large circle. Their gazes were all focused on the center area, the pile of rocks, the ground that was writhing in the pupa, when Xing Tian's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. He suppressed his voice and said, "Everyone, pay attention. It's very likely that's what Xiaoduo caused that time. It caused the foundation of this place to become unstable and collapsed. Then the mountain collapsed and the earth cracked. The underground is moving. It should be some kind of heavenly treasure that's going to transcend the power of the earth and come into being." Everyone held their breaths, but after thinking about it carefully, they all felt that what Xing Tian said was very reasonable. "Be careful, don't let the treasure escape." When Xing Tian commanded calmly, "Something that can come out of the ground like this should be an extraordinary treasure. Even if it already has spiritual intelligence, I wouldn't be too surprised." Everyone's breathing suddenly quickened, and their gazes became more and more heated. There was a possibility that it was a heavenly treasure with spiritual intelligence. This was a legendary treasure, not to mention possessing it. Even if they could only see it once, it would be a great opportunity that was hard to come by. If it really was, then this time, the Hidden Dragon High School would be rich. As time went on, the ground shook more and more, and the movement became more and more intense. If when Xing Tian hadn't warned everyone in advance and set up a soundproof barrier outside, this movement would inevitably be noticed by the outside world. Everyone looked on helplessly as they saw a lot of rocks being arched up and rolling down from the side. At this time, a large piece of the ground had already bulged out. Even Yi Changqing was a little moved. Could it be that a heavenly treasure was really coming into being? This movement was really not small. But why didn't they smell the unique fragrance of a heavenly treasure underground? At this time, the four swords of the Way of the King were already exhausted and could die at any time. They had been buried underground for several days, and they had also been poisoned by the Centipede Queen. Their strength was 99% gone, and they were almost unable to move. Even if they had used up all the medicinal pills and spirit water that could be used to treat injuries and poison in their spatial rings, and helped each other to scrape off the rotten parts of their bodies with sharp blades, every one of them scraped until their bones creaked, and they were sweating profusely. Those who were scraped were also sweating profusely. It wasn't easy to get rid of all the poison, but the four of them had lost more than half of their lives. After recovering a little, they began to plot to get out. But at this time, they were all exhausted and didn't have much strength to rush out. They could only continue to circulate and recuperate underground, hoping to recover a little before doing anything else. Fortunately, the poison was gone, and the density of spiritual energy in the Starlight Mountain range wasn't low. After a period of recuperation, their strength finally recovered a little. It wasn't that they didn't want to continue recuperating, but they had already used up all the medicine, and their injuries couldn't be controlled by recuperation alone. That was why they dug with all their might. It was a pity that when they were in Xiaoduo, in order to be safe, they went very far underground. Later on, they dug wantonly, making this hole extremely deep. Now that they didn't have much strength, it was easier said than done to escape. The pitiful four great Imperial God experts could only rotate in groups of two and use strength that they didn't even care about in the past to break through bit by bit. During this period, they were so tired that they vomited blood more than once. This was the first time in their lives that they were in such a miserable state. When I go back this time, I will definitely recuperate well. I won't take on any missions for 3 years. No, 5 years. Second brother was panting and sweating profusely. He desperately urged the remaining spiritual energy in his dantian to push himself up. Me too. I don't want to come out for the rest of my life. Third brother used all his strength to push himself up. I've never done this kind of work in my life. It's so damn suffocating. Eldest brother and fourth brother, who had been temporarily replaced, were lying below, panting weakly. Fourth brother, where are those spatial rings that you went to get? Third brother was so tired that he wanted to die. He suddenly remembered there should be a lot of healing materials in there. Let's look for them and use them first. Fourth brother wanted to cry, but had no tears. I didn't get anything. I only grabbed a handful of air. As soon as he said this, the other 3 people were stunned. You didn't get anything? You said you didn't get anything? They had been struggling on the line of life and death for the past few days, so they had really neglected that matter. But when they thought about it occasionally, they were still full of motivation. There were so many spatial rings. They should go back and divide them. There should be a lot of good stuff. This trip was not in vain. It was worth it. Although fourth brother didn't mention this matter before, they thought that they were exhausted and didn't have the energy to break the restriction on those spatial rings. But when they heard fourth brother's words, the other 3 people were stunned. They even stopped digging. That was their last hope. You fucking said you only grabbed a handful of air? Can air be eaten? What happened? When I grabbed it, all I got was a handful of soil. Fourth brother's face was twisted. How is that possible? We clearly saw you grab a big hole. The 3 people were shocked. If I really grabbed it, why would I need to grab that big hole? Fourth brother was very sullen. The 3 brothers looked at him with puzzled eyes. This kind of feeling was really terrible. I really didn't get anything. The moment I grabbed it, the bottom collapsed. I was so determined to grab it, but I grabbed nothing. I was stunned for a moment. That was why I was hit by the centipede queen's venom. I sacrificed my blood essence to substitute, but I didn't get anything. For a moment, the 3 of them expressed that they didn't want to talk. They wanted to be alone. Damn it, after all this time, it was not just a waste of effort. It should be said that this was called going for wool without sparing the rice. Suddenly, the 4 people's motivation to dig up decreased a lot. They had been brothers for so many years. They didn't suspect that fourth brother wanted to take it all for himself. In fact, they had seen more wealth than this. Didn't they split it so easily? Therefore, there was no doubt that he wanted to take it all for himself. However, the depression of not getting anything and being heavily injured in their hearts was like a tidal wave. What the fuck did they come here for this time? Kill Zhuo? They didn't even see Zhuo. Get some heaven and earth treasures? They didn't even get a single blade of grass. They hid like rats for a few days. Then, they went to the centipede queen's place and launched a surprise attack. Then, the 4 of them were almost wiped out. Damn it, eldest brother was indescribably depressed. When did we, the 4 swords of the way of the king, do such a stupid thing? The 4 brothers didn't even have a mood to talk. Hurry up and dig. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. Go home and rest well. I realize that no matter where I am, it's not as comfortable as my bed at home. Yeah, there are so many people on your bed. White and soft, in, speaking of which, that Origin Core Realm girl last time was really... How? Tell me in detail. It had to be said that the recovery ability of men was quite strong. No matter how big the blow was, as long as they talked about dirty jokes, they would immediately be energized. Their eyes would shine and they would drool. After a round of nonsense, the 4 of them finally regained some vitality. Even the speed of their work became faster and faster. Fourth brother was the most seriously injured. Moreover, he had lost his blood essence. He moaned and scolded, Stop talking. I'm up. It's even more uncomfortable. It hurts so much. There are wounds everywhere. The 3 above laughed and talked even more enthusiastically. Finally, they were almost out of the ground. They could even see a faint light. Let's work harder. We'll be out soon. We'll escape. The 4 of them were somewhat excited. Eldest brother went down and tied fourth brother on his back. As long as they could get out, the brothers could enjoy it for a few years first. With the strength of the brothers, as long as they rested for a few years, they would be able to recover some of their energy. It was good to be able to survive. Above. When Xing Tian and the other hidden dragon martial artists looked at the ground slowly rising, their eyes became brighter and brighter. It's out. Chapter 624. On the ground, the rocks were rolling. The thing underneath was exerting its strength. Rumble after rumble, wallala. Slowly. Everyone began to feel that something was amiss. When Xing Tian's face was somewhat dark, Yi Changqing's cultivation was the most profound, and his mind was exceptionally clear. He had always felt that something was wrong, so he tilted his head and listened for a long time. Why do I vaguely hear voices? Following Yi Changqing's question, the few people with higher cultivation in the Hidden Dragon High Martial School also revealed puzzled expressions. Could it be that this heaven and earth treasure has really become a spirit and can speak? Wouldn't this be a group of people forming a gang? Zhang Xiaofei looked at Wen Xingtian with ridicule and asked. Wen Xingtian's face was like the bottom of a pot. I fucking didn't expect that there would be so many people underneath. Who would have thought of this? Fuck, is this a reason for you to make fun of me? Who would have thought that an ordinary piece of land would bulge up and there would actually be people crawling out? This is the first time in my life that I've encountered something like this. Bang! On the ground was lifted up, and the two topmost rocks were lifted to the side with great effort. The rocks rolled, and dust flew to whoosh. A hand suddenly stretched out from the ground. It was covered in dried blood, and it was covered in wounds. It looked extremely miserable. Fuck, is this a horror movie? At this moment, when Xingtian was the most speechless in his heart. Is this a zombie movie? What the fuck? Is so disgusting. That hand weakly clasped onto the ground. Continuous panting sounds could be heard from the ground. Huff, huff, huff. It seemed to be squeezing out the last bit of energy from the lungs. Obviously, after the person underneath lifted up this piece of rock, he basically didn't have any strength left. Then, another hand reached out and tried to widen the hole a little. It could be seen that this wasn't a person's hand. The eyebrows of the Hidden Dragon High Martial School's people twitched. The world was really big, and there were all kind of strange things. This kind of encounter, there was no one else. So many of us were actually watching a living person crawling out from the ground. How refreshing. Yi Changqing sighed and waved his hand. A gust of spirit energy gently flew over and lifted up the ground. The few large rocks on top were also thrown to the side by him. Then, he walked over and reached out to grab that hand. He said warmly, "Don't be afraid. I'll help you get up." There was clearly a moment of vigilance below before a low voice could be heard. "Thank you." Although there were still doubts, there was a strong sense of gratitude. If the people above had any evil intentions, they wouldn't have stretched out their hands to pull him back. Instead, they would have slashed down with their swords. This was something that could be clearly distinguished. Yi Changqing pulled the four of them out, one in each hand. The four of them could only feel the dazzling sunlight in front of them. For a moment, they could not see anything clearly, only seeing stars. Lying on the ground, his chest rose and fell rapidly for a while. Finally, he said gratefully, "The heavens have opened their eyes. The heavens have opened their eyes. Many thanks. Friend, in the future we..." However, there was no echo. After a while, a voice that was gnashing his teeth said word by word, "Yes. You. Guys. This is really a case of traveling far and wide looking for something, only to find it by chance without any effort. The heavens have really opened their eyes. The heavens have really opened their eyes for once." When the four swords of the Way of the King heard this voice, they were suddenly stunned. In an instant, their whole bodies turned ice cold. They only felt that their hearts had fallen into a bottomless abyss and kept sinking. Just now, they felt that it was a little familiar. At first, they thought that it might be an acquaintance. If it was an acquaintance, it would be easier to handle. They could conveniently ask for medicine. At most, the brothers would owe the other party a big favor. But they never thought that it was actually such an acquaintance. So familiar that they could not live under the same sky. Yi Changqing, Wen Xingtian, and the others were full of confusion at this time. They were actually stunned for a moment. How could Yi Changqing not recognize these four people? Even if these people turned into ashes, he would still recognize them. But he really did not expect that the people he dug out from the ground would actually be these four people, his great enemies, the four swords of the Way of the King. Although their faces were full of scars, although they were in a sorry state, with wounds all over their bodies and their bones ghastly white, although they were almost completely covered in mud. But ever since Yi Changqing recognized that the four swords of the Way of the King were the few people who had attacked him back then, The faces of these four people were all rolling over in Yi Changqing's heart thousands of times. Even in his dreams, he thought of capturing these four damned old bastards and ruthlessly tormenting and interrogating them. Why did they ambush him back then? Yi Changqing had imagined no less than hundreds of times how to face the four swords of the way of the king, how to fight, what to do, and even how to sacrifice himself and perish together. But he had never thought that they would meet in such a way when they met again. Like dragging a dead dog, he dragged these four people up from the ground. When Xingtian also recognized the other party's identity at this time, and could not help but laugh loudly. Boss, this is really such a coincidence. The heavens really have opened their eyes. Yi Changqing took a deep breath, nodded slowly, and said in a deep voice, word by word, "Yes, the heavens have opened their eyes. This is really such a coincidence." The other people of Hidden Dragon High School did not understand what he meant. What's a coincidence? When Xingtian laughed. These four people are the ones who attacked Principal Yi back then, causing serious injury to Principal Ye's heart meridians, and even being tortured by the Heaven Meridian Hand for dozens of years. Those four people. Zhang Xiaofei blurted out, "Damn, writing a novel. Is it really so coincidental?" Everyone's collective shocked face. If they did not personally experience it, if they did not know that Yi Changqing and Wen Xingtian were not people who would joke about this kind of thing, they would really only treat this as a joke. The leader of the four swords of the way of the monarch was lying on the ground, forcing a smile. Principal Yi, long time no see. He thought of a way out at the first moment. The only way out. If Yi Changqing was not sure that what happened back then was done by his brothers, then maybe there was still room for negotiation. After all, in these recent years, they and Yi Changqing often met, and their friendship was not bad. At least, if the other party did not have conclusive evidence, then whether it was Yi Changqing himself or the people of Hidden Dragonheim Martial School, even if they did not take good care of them, they would not kill them. After all, they also had some status. But, hearing Yi Changqing's tone of voice and gnashing teeth, they faintly felt that something was not right. Yes, it really has been a long time. Yi Changqing laughed coldly. It's been a few decades. I really did not expect that the four demons of the Golden Dragon from back then would actually change their appearance and become the four swords of the way of the monarch. Really, after such a long time, you have schemed. I admire you. This time, the four swords of the way of the monarch were thoroughly chilled. He knew. Why did he know? They had clearly met this year, and they had chatted happily. At least at that time, he did not have any suspicions. But now, why did it seem like he knew everything? This. Xingtian, Yi Changqing ordered. When Xingtian laughed loudly. The four of you do not need to worry. I will take care of you very gently and thoroughly. I guarantee with my life that you will be safe. Haha, today is really a big harvest. First, the chief culprit of Vice Principal Cheng's hatred has been caught, and then the person who plotted against Principal Yi back then has also become our prisoner. It is really a harvest, a big harvest. His mouth was joking, but his hands were not the least bit merciful, patting the dantian, removing the jaw, locking the meridians, feeding the wound medicine. A series of actions was done in one go. Meet up with Vice Principal Cheng and gather the prisoners together to guard them. Yi Changqing looked up at the sky, took a deep breath, and murmured, "Indeed, it is time. The heavens are good at reincarnation. Where there is a cause, there is an effect. I did not expect that during this period of time, karma would come one after another. Is this really the rising hidden dragon plan?" Looking at the white clouds in the sky, he sighed softly. All these years, how many sacrifices had the hidden dragon made? How many lives have been sacrificed? Now it was finally time for a full reckoning. If only Infeng was still alive. How good would that be? Thought the rising hidden dragon plan. Back then, when the spy incident first broke out in Shangjing's Yunwu High School, the few big families were involved in it. Although many were caught, the foundation of the big families was not shaken, and they were still standing strong. As for the deeper UMNO alliance's manipulation and the mastermind behind it, there was no movement at all. After a riot, the Yunwu High School suffered a great loss, but only a few were caught. This result made Minister Ding of the Martial Arts Department furious. After a series of actions, the other party did not suffer much damage, not even a serious injury. This kind of thing was simply unbearable. Could it be that only the astral souls suffered losses? The Alliance's spies were hidden so well. Since then, the Rising Hidden Dragon plan had been secretly prepared. Yunwu High School and Ancestral Dragon High School were taken over by the government. Only Hidden Dragon High School was left. Because among the 3 high schools, only Hidden Dragon High School's predecessor was a private school. From a certain point of view, although Hidden Dragon High School was under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Education and recognized government positions, its degree of autonomy was much greater than the other high schools. Therefore, Hidden Dragon High School seemed to be the same as before, and there was no difference between them and the other high schools. But if they wanted to operate, if they wanted to go to a high school to gain political achievements, Yunwu High School and Ancestral Dragon High School were blocked. The military was taken over by the Military Department and the Martial Arts Department. The people in the military would not reason with you, and there was no way to make an exception. Therefore, they could only choose other places to go. The other high schools were obviously not as good as the top 3 high schools. Other things aside, if they went to other high schools, they would definitely be suppressed by their opponents in the top 3 high schools when it came to promotion. Then, Hidden Dragon High School became the only choice. And if the Alliance wanted to make waves, they had to borrow the selfishness of the astral souls and then start to destroy the talent base. And at that time, when Minister Ding and Minister Nin decided on this plan, they had a secret discussion with Yi Chongqing. He had to catch all of those vermin, thoroughly catch all of them. Otherwise, there would be big problems in the future. Therefore, under the leadership of Yi Chongqing, Hidden Dragon High School opened a gap for this plan. As expected, this slit was quickly torn apart by someone, and a large hole was formed. Chapter 625. Things went out of control several times, and the situation took a sharp turn for the worse. Yi Chongqing was ambushed by the 4 swords of the Way of the King. That was the first accident. However, Yi Chongqing gradually recovered. Other than the heavenly pulse hand that couldn't be removed, the others could still be maintained. Xiang Quangren's accident was the second accident. Shi Yunfeng's accident was the third accident that completely went out of control. They wanted to catch the rat too much, but because of the secrecy, the other vice principals didn't know. Furthermore, the other party's methods were actually dirty to such an extent. This was something that he did not expect. The 4th time it went out of control was with Vice Principal Chung. The world was unpredictable. Many things often went to an unimaginable and unmanageable stage. It was originally Vice Principal Cheng's family matter, but because it involved the royal family, it turned into a disaster. Regarding this matter, all parties, whether it was Vice Principal Cheng's family, Hidden Dragon High School, or the Martial Arts Department, were caught off guard and couldn't react. Vice Principal Chung was the only one who knew a little of the inside story. At that time, for the sake of his granddaughter's happiness, or for other reasons, he didn't report this matter, which made him regret it for the rest of his life. In comparison, Vice Principal Liu being intercepted while escorting a student was within his expectations. After so many years of investigation, the situation became more and more complicated, and the involvement became bigger and bigger. Finally, Xiaoduo had arrived. Intentionally or unintentionally, he had caused all the hidden dangers and undercurrents to erupt in one go. Before this, no one would have thought that a student who seemed to have no background could make such a big movement and cause such an impact. However, Xiaoduo's fortune-telling ability stopped all the conspiracies in a short time. Every time they did it, they would be counted in advance. In this way, the situation became like this. As long as Xiaoduo didn't die, those who had ulterior motives wouldn't dare to make any more moves. Therefore, the expected reward came as scheduled. As for the Wizard Alliance, no one knew what they were thinking. After the bounty started, they actually joined in and increased the stakes. This made the bounty on Xiao Budian suddenly become the gathering place of dragons and tigers. Almost all the opposing forces had joined in. That was why there was this trap. A trap where the net was cast on a large scale and the net was collected at their own game. There was no way they could drag this out any longer. If they did, they would have to pay with Zhuo's life. Only then would they be able to continue with their plan. But who would dare to sacrifice Zhuo's life? Another thing was that the royal family was slowly emerging from this game of chess. This change was the most unexpected, but also the most fatal. Even if he did, he definitely couldn't do it in the Hidden Dragonheim Martial School. If the royal family's affairs were to erupt during the Hidden Dragonheim Martial Arts Tournament, then the Hidden Dragonheim Martial Arts Tournament would truly be gone. No matter which side won or lost in the end, no matter which side lost, Hidden Dragonheim martial artist would be completely wiped out. This was inevitable. A Shaohai martial artist actually dared to involve himself in the struggle for the imperial family. Who gave him the courage? If they didn't punish him, wouldn't Gaowu become a place of filth in the future? If the other martial artists followed suit, the consequences would be dire. Therefore, the higher-ups decided to close the net and end this scheme that had been planned for a long time. Since the Hidden Dragonheim Martial Arts Tournament had been planned for such a long time, they had to give the Hidden Dragonheim Martial Arts Tournament an explanation. The beginning and end of the Hidden Dragon Rising to Heaven plan was roughly like this. But now, no one knew about it at all. It was even more unexpected. Because of Zhuo's intervention, this Hidden Dragon Rising to Heaven plan had completely changed. It had become a different kind of Hidden Dragon Rising to Heaven plan. Zhuo was fighting at this time because a group of Jianghu people, after discovering Zhuo, naturally rushed up to him. These people's strength wasn't high. Zhuo alone was enough to deal with them. According to the previous practice, Ryu Xing and the others wouldn't make a move. They were happy to take it as training children. While Zhuo was fighting hard, his mind was still wandering. The strength of this group of people wasn't high, but the space rings on their hands couldn't be fake. Another bunch was in his pocket. Kill. Suddenly, a violent roar came. 8 people rushed out like lightning, crazily slashing at the people besieging Zhuo. Young Master Zhuo, we're from Fenghai's Gao family. We're here to protect young Master Zhuo under the orders of our master and several young masters and young ladies. We're on the same side. Zhuo was stunned. Gao family? Fenghai's Gao family? This Zhuo instantly felt mixed feelings. He didn't know what to do. Fenghai's Gao family, the Gao family where Gao Qiao came from, and the Gao family where he killed 2 genius girls? Are they really here to rescue me? He thought of the message Gao Qiao and Gao Changxiang sent when he left the city. Come back quickly. Danger. From this message, it wasn't hard to tell that these 2 people must know something. But even if there was a precedent, Zhuo was still surprised that the Gao family sent people to rescue him. Well, are they really here to rescue me? Or are they here to kill me in the name of rescuing me? Zhuo felt that he needed to keep an eye on things. Now, he wouldn't easily trust anyone, and he wouldn't dare to trust anyone. Thank you. Zhuo's long sword was like the wind, killing the enemies. The battle is dangerous. You have to take care of yourselves. Both sides work together. So Zhuo, who already had the upper hand, cooperated with the Gao family and quickly killed this wave of enemies. The Gao family went to find their own loot and didn't touch the enemies killed by Zhuo's side. But on their own side, they didn't bother to be polite with Zhuo and directly took the loot. On the other hand, Zhuo also took care of his own things. They were very clear about each other's thoughts, and they couldn't gain absolute trust for the time being. Zhuo's loot also rose to 497 pieces after this battle. At this time, the leader of the Gao family on the opposite side cupped his fists. Young Master Zhuo, we're in a dangerous place, and we have to keep a distance. Please forgive us. Understood. Zhuo seriously returned the salute. Our strength is only SOSO. If we stay with young Master Zhuo, we'll be too big of a target, and I'm afraid we'll drag you down. The leader said, we'll hide nearby. If young Master Zhuo is in danger, just let out a long whistle, and we'll definitely come to your rescue. I don't dare to say that we'll help young Masterswa, but we can block the enemy's retreat and fight for a way to survive. I know, you're so considerate. Take care. Take care. The Gao family left decisively. Before leaving, the leader looked around and finally said in a low voice, "Young Masterswa, be careful of the Wu family." Zhou Xiaoduo nodded solemnly. The Gao family went in the direction of Zhou Xiaoduo's path, and they walked very quickly. In a flash, they disappeared. Obviously, they were going to be the vanguard. Zhou Xiaoduo watched the Gao family leave, and his brows furrowed. Is there a grudge? Honored Lord Ri, who was secretly following them, asked sharply. Yes, Zhou Xiaoduo replied. In the previous Longhu ranking competition, I killed 2 girls from their family, a pair of twins known as geniuses. Honored Lord Ri's voice was cautious. Since that's the case, you can't believe it easily. After all, in the battle just now, there was no difference whether they were there or not. Even if we don't want to do cruel things, some positions must be proven with life. So Xiaoduo nodded silently. He also thought so. This kind of situation, unless it wasn't a trap, but as long as it was, he would lose his life if he entered. No matter how cautious he was, it wasn't too much. But why was this honored Lord Ri suddenly so kind to him, and even so concerned about him? This change seemed very sudden. Honored Lord Ri only remembered after he came up with this idea. You killed 2 girls? Are they beautiful? So Xiaoduo was stunned. Quite beautiful as flowers and jade. Honored Lord Ri was stunned. Then you killed them just like that? Ruthlessly destroying flowers? So Xiaoduo was even more stunned. Ah, Honored Lord Ri, young man, if you meet someone of good quality in the future, you can consider developing them. It's not too late to kill them if they're not suitable. So Xiaoduo, your method of education is really unique. If all the young people listened to you, there would probably be a large number of social scum. In the next 2 battles, Feng Hai's Gao family sent help. 1 person died on the spot, and 3 were seriously injured. They even began to howl at the sky, so anxious that they almost vomited blood. They summoned the people of Hidden Dragon High School. Young Masterswa, our strength is really useless. We can't protect you in this place. The leader of the Gao family gasped for breath. Please hurry and meet up with Principal Yi of Hidden Dragon High School. Returning to Feng Hai as soon as possible is the most important thing. This place is really too dangerous. Feng Hai's Gao family had already dispatched the elite forces of the Gao family, but against the killers of the entire underground world, the Gao family of Feng Hai City was really not enough. The difference in level was a bit too far, a bit too big. So Xiaoduo slowly nodded, but sent a voice transmission to Honored Lord Ri. Senior, what do you think? Still not trustworthy. Honored Lord Ri was obviously extremely cautious in this matter. He was afraid that he would mislead Zhou Xiaoduo even a little bit. Even if the review was 10 times stricter, 10 times crueler, he didn't want Zhou Xiaoduo to step into a pit because of his maybe trustworthy. Zhou Xiaoduo might not die if he stepped into the pit. But if Zhou Xiaoduo stepped into the pit because of his own error in judgment, he would definitely be peeled off a layer of skin. However, the enemies they encountered next were indeed beyond the ability of Feng Hai's Gao family, and they really couldn't resist. Go quickly. While desperately fighting, he roared. His eyes were about to pop out, so Xiaoduo desperately rushed forward. No, we'll go together. The leader of the Gao family almost vomited blood. He didn't expect young Master Zhua to be so loyal. But how stupid was it to be loyal at such a time? Young Master Zhua, do you know that you're the target of public criticism? As long as you're not here, they won't be interested in us. Go quickly. With an urging sound, the leader of the Gao family used the move of body and sword to block the other side, but blood kept spilling out of his body. Obviously, facing the siege of more than a dozen people, they were really no match. Not to mention that there were only 7 people left from the original 8, and some of them were seriously injured. Go quickly, he shouted. These people, their identities are unusual. Go quickly. Chapter 6:26. When he said this, The eyes of the masked assassin turned as cold as ice. He didn't care about the risk of being injured and stabbed his throat. The leader of the Gao family shouted, "This is the Gao family of Shangjing." With a scream, he barely avoided his throat, but the flesh on the left side of his face was cut off. The Gao family of Shangjing. Attack! Sage Reese shouted angrily. A human silhouette appeared. Suddenly, the moonlight shone on the ground, everywhere. More than 20 doppelgangers appeared and charged toward the enemies. The other party only let out a loud boom, and the dozen or so people fell to the ground in exhaustion. Then it was still the same process. Casually stacking these people together, Lord Yu didn't stop. She floated away with one hand. The 7 people of Feng Hai's Gao family were all on the verge of death, but they were all dumbfounded. They didn't know where they were. What was going on? It seemed that their initial judgment was right. Young Master Zhuo really had a powerful bodyguard. It was just that. This bodyguard was too powerful. He was so powerful that it was beyond their knowledge. What level of powerhouse was he? So Xiaoduo went over and took out a few bottles of medicine. Everyone, treat your wounds first. Behind him, Lord Ri, who was hiding in the dark, was fully focused. His cultivation had reached its peak. The distance was too close. If these people attacked, he had to make sure that Xiaoduo wouldn't be hurt. But these people didn't attack. They could only express their gratitude and shame. After taking Xiaoduo's medicine, everyone's complexion became much better. So young Master Zhuo has his own bodyguard. It's embarrassing for us to come here rashly. The leader of the Gao family was ashamed. Comparing goods, one had to throw them away. Comparing people, one had to die. Look at the performance of the bodyguard. He was too strong. Before we came, the head of the Gao family ordered that we would rather die in battle than let anything happen to young Master Zhuo. Our Gao clan and young Master Zhuo got to know each other because of enmity. If we want to restore our relationship to the point where there are no grudges between us, we can only express our goodwill to the greatest extent. At least, we have to show our attitude. He gasped for breath. Since young Master Zhuo has an expert protecting you, and we are already injured, we will take our leave. Young Master Zhuo, be careful. We'll meet again in Feng Hai City. The 7 of them staggered to their feet and supported each other. He actually turned around and left just like that. How is it? So Xiaoduo was starting to believe that the Gao family had no intention of making an enemy out of him. If they could fake such goodwill, then the entire Gao family was a top-notch actor. However, he still asked, "You're quite sincere. But as for the specifics, you will have to wait until you go back and carefully observe. If there is even the slightest bit of doubt, you must not accept it." Revered Lord Ri warned, "You still need to maintain a safe distance in daily life." Waiting for the moment when the fire refines the true gold. Xiaoduo nodded slowly. "I understand." At this moment, he really felt the gap between himself and an experienced Jianghu veteran. Revered Lord Ri was an experienced Jianghu veteran. Other than his brothers, no one dared or was willing to believe him. But only with such caution could he ensure his greatest safety. The so-called capsizing in the gutter was something that would never happen to an experienced Jianghu veteran of this level. As the saying goes, the older the Jianghu, the more cowardly one was. Because he had seen too many schemes and tricks, he could only become more and more cowardly. It doesn't matter if you laugh at me for being a coward, but I can't use my life as a bargaining chip just to not let you laugh at me. Another 7 days passed in a row, constantly attacking, constantly probing, constantly taking risks. The number of spatial rings in Zhuo Xiaoduo's hands kept rising. At present, it had already broken through the 900 mark. Of course, almost all of these were the enemies killed by revered Lord Ri. He didn't take a single ring. They were all given to Zhuo Xiaoduo. "It's useless for me to keep them," revered Lord Ri said. "Now is the time for you to lay your foundation. The more solid it is, the better. Take these things. If there's anything you can use it. If you can't use it, or if there's too much, use it as a gift. Don't be reluctant to part with these things. 10,000 treasure mountains are not as good as one brother." You must remember this sentence. Of course, there's another sentence that you must remember. That is, No matter how many brothers you have, it's not as good as being perfect. So a Xiaoduo murmured and repeated, 10,000 treasure mountains are not as good as one brother. No matter how many brothers you have, it's not as good as being perfect. That's right. On the battlefield of Jianghu, having a brother who sincerely goes through life and death with you is the happiest and most wonderful thing in the world. But even if you have brothers and friends all over the world, it's not as good as being invincible in the world. In life, you can't live without friends and brothers. But in life, you must ensure that your realm is high enough. Otherwise, you can only complain behind others that they are not enough brothers, leaving you behind to climb to the peak. Revered Lord Ri sighed softly. Instead of letting a former brother complain that he can only look up to a high mountain, you must not let yourself be in the position of complaining and looking up to others. Why is there so much resentment in the world? Why are there so many betrayals? Most of it is because of this. You will slowly understand it in the future. When you've experienced more, you'll naturally understand my current, normal state of mind. Revered Lord Ri smiled faintly and patted Zhou Xiaoduo's shoulder. I will remember it and never dare to forget it. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded solemnly. Regarding these words, limited by his experience and knowledge, he still didn't understand much. But he understood that these were the life experiences of revered Lord Ri. It was the philosophy of life imparted by a senior who had gone through the vicissitudes of life. I cannot understand it when I listen, but in the future, I will remember it in my heart and slowly understand it thoroughly. So what Xiaoduo's greatest advantage was that he was humble and open-minded. When he saw his own shortcomings, he would immediately correct them. When he saw the strengths of others, he would immediately learn. As for the chicken soup for the soul that his classmates grumbled about, he never rejected such things. In the educational message that Zhou Chonglu once sent to Zhou Xiaoduo, he said, "Chicken soup for the soul. After listening to it too much, you will naturally be annoyed." Therefore, young people nowadays are tired of drinking this kind of chicken soup. But what I want to tell you is, perhaps chicken soup for the soul may not have much effect, but if you drink this bowl of chicken soup, at least it won't poison you to death. At least, it is nutritious. Otherwise, why would it be called chicken soup? Why not call it arsenic soup? All chicken soup for the soul is the experience of the predecessors. Some even contradict and repel each other when put together, but it depends on how you look at it and understand it from different points of view. When you impatiently say that it is just a bowl of chicken soup and repel it, you will naturally not get the nutrients in the chicken soup. This is the inevitable result. So Xiaoduo had always seriously considered and followed his father's words. It was probably because of this that he developed the characteristic of accepting all rivers into the sea. If it makes sense, I will accept it, no matter how annoying it is. So Xiaoduo was not annoyed by Sun Sage's repeated preaching. On the contrary, he was very grateful. These were all life-saving experiences on the battlefield of the Jianghu. Although he said this to some people in a peaceful big city, there would still be too many people who disdainfully tilted their head. Fuck, another bowl of chicken soup. The people of the Wu family had been waiting for an opportunity and for the next order from the family. But when they saw us with Xiaoduo being besieged, they did not know what to do, how to deal with it, how to face it. Go forward to rescue him, or add insult to injury. Without further orders, they could only choose to bide their time. They also saw that the people of the Gao family rushed forward and reported the news back to the family. But the main family was still in an endless stalemate. When he turned back, Zhou Xiaoduo had already disappeared without a trace. After hundreds of battles, Sun Sage was also protecting Zhou Xiaoduo while constantly dealing with affairs. The people of the Wu family in Shangjing have been confirmed. The people of the Wei family have been confirmed. The evidence is conclusive. The people of the Gao family have been confirmed. The people of the Liu family have been confirmed. There are also people of a few families who had been caught. But Minister Nan asked for a few more days, because the interrogation needed time. From the many families involved in the case, they had to figure out who was the one who arranged everything. And where did the people of the UMNO alliance start? But for the next few days, they really did not need to fight anymore. Of course, it was not impossible for them to seize more. Therefore, Xiaoduo was allowed to join the people of the Hidden Dragon High School. Here, one thing had to be mentioned. The people of the Hidden Dragon High School had taken a great advantage of helping Xiaoduo this time. If they had followed the initial plan, Sun, Moon, and Star would have only protected Xiaoduo. If the people of the Hidden Dragon High School had found Xiaoduo early at this point in time, it was inevitable that they would have suffered heavy casualties. It was even possible that they would have been completely wiped out. But after the repeated cycle of Xiaoduo acting as bait in the front, and when someone attacked, the 5 masters at the back personally took care of the situation. The people of the Hidden Dragon High School were all unharmed. Instead, they had profited greatly and gained a lot. This had to be said to be a miracle. The 5 people, including Sun, Moon, and Star, who were hiding in the dark, watched Xiaoduo join the people of the Hidden Dragon High School. That should be Xiaoduo's teacher, right? He actually punched and kicked him as soon as he came up. This guy's guts were not small. He actually dared to fight like this. He was really sharp, but it was too enjoyable to watch. They wished they could be in his place. After all, the 5 of them had been dissatisfied with this guy for a long time. He watched as his brat was slapped, kicked, and beaten up by this group of people. His bald head was being tossed here and there. In an instant, his ears were pinched red. Lord Sun became more and more envious. He couldn't help but think of his teacher. When I have time, I have to go back and see my teacher. I haven't seen him in a long time. Thinking about it, he sighed and touched his head. Every time he went back, the old man would be angry and stare at him. Why haven't you found a wife yet? You're about to die of old age. How long are you going to wait? Since you're here today, you're not allowed to leave. Don't move. I'll introduce you to a few. He still had lingering fears. I'm already a great cultivator who can move unhindered in the world, but I still have to be arranged to go on blind dates. I'm really drunk. Brothers, thank you for the rewards. Thank you to the leaders for your support. There are too many people to list them one by one. Thank you all. Thank you. Chapter 6:27. Hidden Dragon High School. Yi Chongqing and the others finally saw Xiaoduo, who they hadn't seen for a long time. How could they tolerate Xiaoduo's temper? They escorted this kid and began to withdraw. Naturally, there were endless battles along the way. However, too many experts had already been dealt with previously. The remaining ones were mostly bounty hunters. It was rare for a large group of people to gather together. Naturally, they were much easier to deal with. 3 days later, everyone from Hidden Dragon High School, including Xiaoduo, withdrew from Starlight Mountain Range. 4 days later, they returned to Fenghai City. Under Lord Ri's insistence, the 5 of them remained invisible to protect them. Watching this group of people enter Fenghai City and enter Hidden Dragon High School, they finally let out a sigh of relief. All right, you 2 go back and hand your orders. We will continue to stay here and list Starlight Mountain Range as a military area. From now on, it will be a forbidden area. Okay, the 5 of them parted ways. Watching heaven and earth leave, Lord Yu finally couldn't help but ask, Big brother, your attitude changed a lot. What's going on? Lord Ri chuckled, his face full of wrinkles like a blooming chrysanthemum. Guess. How am I supposed to guess? Why don't you tell us? You can't guess? I can't. I won't tell you. Fuck. Shangjing. Shangjing had been in chaos for 3 whole days. First, the entire Shangjing's network collapsed. Other than the military's private line, all other modern facilities, as long as they were related to the network, were all unusable. Phones and computers could only play standalone games. They couldn't even maintain basic calls. Countless people were cursing, countless companies were stomping their feet, and countless bosses were on the verge of bankruptcy. However, looking at the aura that was constantly gathering in the sky and getting bigger and bigger, everyone understood one thing. Perhaps, or probably, something big was going to happen. Looking at this situation, it seemed like a big battle was going to happen. A whole team of 1,000 Yinhua experts gathered in the sky and formed a square formation. From all directions, countless experts rushed over after receiving the news. As time passed, more and more people came. Chief Nan's burly body was on the roof of the Ministry of Finance, holding a phone in his hand. The screen was flashing. Everyone who saw it was speechless. There's no internet in the country, but you're chatting on your phone. Is this really okay? Showing off so much, being so smug, and being so smug at such a high altitude, the department head really knew how to play. Showing off in front of the whole nation. You don't have an internet cafe? Ha, I do. The old women rolled their eyes and touched the mobile phones in their pockets. Other than Snake of Gluttony, Solitaire, and other games, they couldn't play anything else and could only be used as bricks. They were speechless. You could be even more arrogant. Behind Chief Nan of the South, there were 10 orderly messengers who stood quietly, waiting for orders. Chief Nan looked at the messages that came in one after another on his phone with an unprecedentedly solemn expression. The first target. The Chief of the South ordered in a deep voice, Shangjing, the Gao family. Capture the entire family, young and old. Time limit 5 minutes. Behind him, a messenger suddenly disappeared. Nan Fong looked at another message. Wu family same. He couldn't help but sigh. The third clan, Wei clan. Lu family. Nan Fong felt an indescribable sadness in his heart. These 4 clans, which one of them didn't have many heroes? Which one of them wasn't a meritorious clan? Countless ancestors shed their blood, died on the battlefield, and heroically killed their enemies in exchange for today's prominent status and generations of clans. Since when did it become so rotten? If those old brothers who fought side by side were still alive, how would they feel? If they were still alive in the netherworld, perhaps they would be angered to death by these unfilial descendants, right? Try to capture them alive. Also, dig out all the signals and internet bands sent out by the 4 clans from the database. These are all important clues. The messengers left one by one, but the number of messengers behind Chief Nan didn't decrease. As soon as the first one left, someone immediately replaced him. One by one, the names of people and clans came out of Chief Nan's mouth. Next to him, a young man in a bright yellow robe took out the Imperial Jade Seal and used it on the blank arrest warrants. The person in charge of capturing only needed to fill in the names of the clans on the blank arrest warrants. Capturing meritorious clans required the royal seal. This young man looked to be in his late 20s, but his hair was already graying. Only his eyes were calm. This was the current crown prince of the Yanwu Empire, the crown prince. He could have sent someone over and didn't have to come personally. However, at this moment, he stubbornly stood here and used the seal himself. Capturing the rebels. Rising hidden dragon plan. Mist rose in the crown prince's eyes. Let's see who will pay for the blood debt from back then. My show heir. Find the mastermind. No matter who it is, I will. Make your entire clan immortal and suffer a life or death dilemma. From today onwards, Shangjing City will be classified as a special restricted area. In fact, Shangjing City had been restricted to entry and exit since 4 days ago. Today, it was upgraded again. This was already a top-level restriction. Now, without the joint signature of the Warriors Department, the Military Department, and the Royal Family, even the Empress and the Crown Prince couldn't leave Shangjing. At the same time, all the major cities in the Yanwu Empire were under military control. Through the direct network of the military headquarters, information was transmitted smoothly and orders were issued for arrest. Everyone on the list was arrested, with no exceptions. I only want results. I only want to ensure that the culprits are caught. Whoever escapes from the hands of the culprits will be charged with the same crime. The orders of the Southern Chief were cold and even cold-blooded. I don't care if there are spies in the military. However, the families of the people on the list may not be sentenced to death after they are arrested. However, if any of the soldiers let them go, the soldier himself and his entire family will be charged with an additional crime. All of them will die. As long as the spies are willing to sacrifice themselves, they can escape. Under such a resolute order, there was no possibility of favoritism. Who would be willing to exchange their family's lives for someone else's? Moreover, their standpoints were different. All the spies who jump out, even if their families aren't in the Astral Souls continent, will be included in the 9 Heavens Pavilion's must-kill list. From the dying to the weak to the newborn, everyone's names will be on the list. There are no exceptions. However, as long as there is one person, the kill order will not be lifted. The mission will only be canceled after all of them are dead. The orders became stricter and stricter. They fell into the hands of the various military departments like lightning from the 9 heavens. After receiving the orders, almost everyone went crazy. Everywhere was filled with orders like, "If you don't complete the mission, bring your head to me." Shang Jing's Gao family. The Gao family's patriarch, who was in a secret chamber, had an ashen face. 2 days ago, with 2 loud booms, the secret escape tunnel that had been prepared long before the establishment of the family, leading to the outside of Shangjing City, collapsed. From that moment onwards, everyone in the Gao family was only allowed to enter and not leave. They were all under control. They were only waiting for evidence and for arrest. If it was proven that the Gao family was innocent in the end, it would just be an apology or some compensation. However, if it was proven and the evidence was conclusive, the Gao family's patriarch's heart was as clear as a mirror. This time, the Gao family was doomed. Walnut. Walnut. The Gao family's patriarch looked at the round walnut in his hand. He looked like he was crying and laughing at the same time. Master Bai, I finally understand what you mean. You're saying that the Gao family is just a walnut. It looks tough, but under a hammer, it can't withstand a single blow. Perhaps it's better to teach me to give up early and to live peacefully. Only then can I escape this disaster. Ha ha. You're right. I misunderstood. The Gao family's patriarch exerted force in his hand, and the walnut in his hand was instantly crushed into powder. The Gao family was once a family of generals. The Gao family's patriarch was choked with sobs. I'm just asking for a few high positions to make the family one step further, to protect the glory of our ancestors. Why do we have to go to this extent? Why do we have to go to this extent? At this moment, there was another loud bang. A team of more than 100 people slowly descended from the sky. The main gate of the Gao family's ancestral home was smashed with a bang. Fully armed soldiers rushed in from all directions, completely surrounding the Gao family's residence. We're following orders. No one is allowed to resist. Anyone who resists will be killed without mercy. Anyone who resists will be killed without mercy. Such a stern voice rang out continuously throughout the Gao family's ancestral home. It was as if the voice was echoing. At the same time, all the officials related to the Gao family's faction across the country were all under control. In the Wei family's residence. When all the people rushed in, the entire residence was empty. They searched all the way to the ancestral hall. Only then did they realize that everyone in the Wei family was gathered neatly and kneeling in the ancestral hall. Not a single person was missing. In the ancestral hall, there was a statue of a general in golden armor. He held a long saber in his hand and wore golden armor. He stood still on the pedestal, looking straight ahead. A heroic aura surged out from him. The Wei family's patriarch, Wei Zhongyuan. During the battle at the Sun Moon Pass, he led 36 personal guards, who were also his 36 sworn brothers, to cover the retreat of the army. They fought the Grand Magus, Wind Emperor, to the death. In the end, they were defeated. Seeing that the Grand Magus was about to lead the army into the Sun Moon Pass, the 37 people's essence and blood fused together, turning into one body and self-detonating in front of the army. In that battle, the earth cracked and the mountains collapsed. Before Wei Zhongyuan self-detonated, he only said one sentence. Wind Emperor, you want to kill my comrades? Wait until the smoke and dust of my body dissipates. This sentence was a request. The Grand Magus said emotionally, Wei Zhongyuan, you were a hero of your time. You must let your heroic soul rest in peace. At that moment, the Umno Alliance army stopped for a day, waiting for the smoke and dust to dissipate. They wanted the hero to fulfill his final wish, to let his brothers return safely. It was on this day that the army was defeated but not defeated, allowing them to return safely. Yu Dongtian, who was still the East Army's marshal, wrote personally, Loyal heart and righteous blood, protect the Central Plains. The 36 shadow statues beside Wei Zhongyuan were none other than the 36 warriors who had died with him back then. On both sides were the Wei family's ancestral teachings written by Wei Zhongyuan himself. A loyal heart only serves the country, full of righteous blood guards, astral souls. Beside the Grand Magus, there were many statues in military attire. They were lined up on both sides, densely packed. There were more than 190 of them. These were the ancestors of the Wei family who had sacrificed themselves in the Sun Moon Pass for thousands of years. All of them were furious, as if they were reprimanding these unfilial descendants. The Wei family head knelt at the front, his eyes lifeless. Now, their only hope was the meritorious deeds of their ancestors and their final protection. They hoped that the meritorious deeds of their ancestors would be able to make the royal family and Minister Nan, who was in charge of law enforcement, give them a way out. Countless soldiers swarmed in from all directions, bringing with them the biting cold wind. However, when they arrived, they could not help but lighten their footsteps and stop. They stood at attention. Looking at the solemn ancestral hall in front of them, they did not make any further movements. The soldiers who wanted to arrest the Wei family looked at the Wei family's ancestral hall and the statues of the heroes of their predecessors. Their hearts were filled with an indescribable feeling. Chapter 628. One had to be at least a Cloud Transformation Realm cultivator and a Wei clan senior who died in the battle at the Sun Moon Pass. Only then would they be qualified to place a statue here. Now, there were so many loyal and brave warriors. Were they just going to watch their descendants being arrested by their fellow soldiers, capturing all their descendants right in front of them? Just as they were in a dilemma, a clanging sound was heard. Several military officers in military uniforms gathered together and strode over in large, orderly steps. All of you, face the ancestral hall and gather. A long horn sounded. It was a bugle call. A piercingly cold voice roared, "Salute to the seniors." All the soldiers saluted at the same time. Their faces were solemn and meticulous. Their movements were even more orderly, as if they had been cut by a knife. Brave seniors, you have contributed to the country. You have sacrificed for mankind and should be respected by us. However, it is also a fact that the descendants are unworthy and have tarnished the names of the seniors and blasphemed the glory of the ancestors. We are here today under orders to capture and bring them to justice. The seniors in the heavens can bear witness that we have no intention of insulting you. We, the 800 soldiers, swear to the heavens that we are fair and just and have no grievances. Otherwise, we will repay the souls of the brave seniors with our lives. The imperial court has its laws, and the army has its laws. Please forgive us, brave seniors. Then he waved his hand and turned around. Take them all away. All the Wei family members had their cultivations sealed and were handcuffed. One by one, they were taken out of the ancestral hall. In the ancestral hall of the Wei family, facing hundreds of heroic souls and capturing the descendants of heroes, this scene was so heart-wrenching and unnatural. All the soldiers who took action had tears in their eyes, and their hearts were exceptionally heavy. Why couldn't you do more? Even if you're mediocre, even if you didn't have any ability and didn't even have the talent to practice martial arts, you shouldn't have brought such humiliation to the ancestors. Die with hatred. Do you know that by capturing you here, it is equivalent to stabbing each of your hearts with a knife dripping with blood? Heart-wrenching pain. Because we are also soldiers, we can empathize with you. The line was long, and they walked out in a single file. When head of the Wei family was about to step out of the door, he suddenly turned back desperately. Looking in the direction of the ancestral hall, he fell to his knees and kowtowed. I have let down the ancestors of the Wei family. In the ancestral hall, Wei Zhongyuan's statue was still standing tall and upright, looking at his descendant who had already been escorted out. The gaze of the statue was like two cold arrows. It was just that the majestic aura of the mountains and rivers seemed a little bleak. The Wu family, similar signs to the Gao family. It had to be said that the Wu family was indeed a big family. In the Yinwu Empire, There were more than one Wu family that was famous. The Wu family was ranked second. Their family background was much deeper than the Gao family and the Wei family. But today, under the iron fist of Southern Chief Nan, not a single one of them was missing. Next was the Liu family. On this day, many clans in Shangjing were arrested. All facilities, all equipment, everything was confiscated. Apart from those things that had been obtained in the glory of their ancestors, they had never touched them. They could search the place, but they were not allowed to take them away, nor were they allowed to damage them. On this day, there was no wind or clouds in the sky above Shangjing. The atmosphere was oppressive, as if the sky was about to collapse. The prison in Shangjing was filled to the brim. Minister Nan gave the order. Escort those 4 clans to the Ministry of Finance. Settle them in the courtyard and give them a few tents. I like to see who dares to cause trouble under my watch. That night, Nan Zhengxian was dressed in a rare military uniform. He had reverted to the uniform of the Southern Army's marshal. Carrying incense and strong wine, he went out alone. He first went to the Wu family's ancestral hall. First, he burned some incense and candles. Then he sat there cross-legged, placed bags of food, and opened jars of wine. Don't say that I didn't take good care of your descendants. Brother, if you were all alive and saw this, you would have acted faster than me. It wouldn't have come to this. Let's not talk about anything else. Let's drink. Don't worry, your descendants will be left behind. Your shelter will also be reserved for you. Brother, let's drink. Then, he went to the Gao family's ancestral hall. Finally, he went to the Wei family's ancestral hall. Nan Zhengxian was speechless as he looked at the statues that filled the room. Zhongyuan, Nan Zhengxian stood with his hands behind his back. He gently touched Wei Zhongyuan's statue with a white towel in his hand. He wiped the statue until it was spotless. I wanted to uproot your family since 10 years ago. Nan Zhengxian sighed softly. As a man, I hate unworthy wives and unworthy sons the most. Zhongyuan, today, whether I accompany you or you accompany me, let's have a good drink. I'll drink with you. I know you won't feel good today. You can accompany me. How can I feel good in my heart? Nan Zhengxian drank the whole night. He accompanied his old brothers and the heroic spirits of his old subordinates as he reminisced about the past. At dawn, he finally returned home singing military songs. He did not circulate his energy to expel the smell of alcohol. He allowed himself to be drunk. The interrogation of all parties was in full swing. After the arrest, network communications were also fully restored. Until the afternoon, the Crown Prince came to discuss matters with Chief Nan on behalf of the Emperor. After sobering up, Chief Nan got out of bed. He was about to speak when he suddenly received an urgent report. Emergency report from the Hidden Dragon Institute. Speak. This. The adjutant's eyes darted around. The Crown Prince understood. I'll leave for a while. Chief Nan laughed. What's there to leave for? You say it out loud. What is it that the Crown Prince can't hear? Yes. The adjutant's face turned bitter. But since the order was given, he naturally had to obey. The Hidden Dragon Institute has caught the culprits who killed the vice principal's 2 granddaughters. There are also the 4 culprits who ambushed Yi Changqing. But there are a lot of people involved. The person who came in to report was Nan Zhengxian's adjutant. He also knew the severity of the matter. On the other hand, Chief Nan had just woken up from a hangover and did not think in that direction. He really didn't expect that the news he received this time would be so explosive, so shocking, so coincidental, and so right by a stroke of luck. Beside him, the Crown Prince, who was sitting gracefully and as steady as a mountain, jumped up when he heard this. His eyes were bloodshot. What? His voice was so loud. Chief Nan immediately had a feeling. This is bad. This is bad. He could not help but glare at the adjutant. How could this kind of thing be said in front of the Crown Prince? For so many years, the Crown Prince had been unable to forget this matter. The Crown Prince rushed in front of the adjutant and grabbed the phone. He only took a glance at it, but he suddenly bristled with anger. The Prince of Zhongyuan. The Crown Prince roared. His eyes were about to crack. Roar. Nan Zhengxian also roared. causing the whole building to shake for a moment. It was as if the evening drum and morning bell had enlightened the crown prince, who was about to explode with a cool breeze. The crown prince came to his senses in an instant. He panted heavily and turned to Chief Nan. He gritted his teeth and said, "Chief Nan, I will never." Minister Nan took a deep breath and said, "You can't act rashly on this matter. You should go back and ask for His Majesty's opinion first." Nan Zhengxian lowered his voice. "And so far, only the three of us know about this. We can't let more people know." The crown prince's face turned red. "But I must go. If you go out of the capital now, you will die for sure. Even if I were to bring my men to protect him, he would still be killed." Nan Zhengxian said soberly, "This matter is not as simple as you think. Once the royal family is in turmoil, the consequences will be dire." The crown prince's crazed look slowly disappeared. He was panting heavily. The rims of his eyes slowly turned red. As tears glistened in his eyes, he seemed to see the white-clothed girl from back then. She was cold and peerless. She was tall and proud. She had a face that could topple cities and a figure that was gentle and beautiful. One person and one sword defeated two martial artists. Countless geniuses couldn't even lift their heads and breathe in front of that peerless beauty. She even took away his heart. Every night, he dreamed of that girl's sword. Her white dress fluttered in the wind. She was like a fairy flying in the sky. Her black eyes were staring at his face. That country-toppling face, those exquisite lips, and that faint smile. And that sentence, "I will wait for you in Qianlong." The crown prince left. To prevent any accidents, Nan Zhengxian personally sent him back to the palace. He also met with the emperor and had a secret meeting for half an hour before he left. Chief Nan sighed deeply when he walked out of the palace. He felt that he was really unlucky recently. Bad luck kept on coming. Why were all the mistakes on his side these few days? For example, this time, the Qianlong High School caught the murderer. If he was still in the south, would he let the crown prince know? Even if the crown prince didn't know, what did it have to do with him? It's not easy to live in the capital. Nan Zhengxian shook his head and sighed. "I have to go back to the Southern Legion as soon as possible. These bullshit matters. Whoever wants to meddle in it can go. I'm so annoyed, so annoyed." He sighed and dialed a number. "The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable." "Fuck, I'm still on the blacklist." He hurriedly called the Qianlong High School. "Keep an eye on him. Don't leak any information." "Understood." Chief Nan's voice became heavy. "Yi Changqing, that Gao Zhiyun, are you sure you want to protect him?" Yi Changqing said, "Gao Zhiyun has really changed. His repentance was before this operation. Since the last time, Gao Zhiyun has changed. He is always thinking of the Qianlong High School. He is indeed different from before. Most importantly, I want to give some face to the Gao family's sister-in-law, the Shimin family's daughter." Yi Changqing said in a low voice, "Chief Nan, since he has repented, and the Shimin family must not be involved." Chapter 629. Minister Nin did not speak and was silent for a long time. Yi Changqing continued. After Gao Zhiyun was set up last time, his mentality changed greatly. He probably went through a life and death experience and understood a lot. At that time, the Starry Mountains incident had not happened yet. I think we should give him a chance. Minister Nan was still silent for a moment before he said in a deep voice, "Yi Changqing, you have to know that you have to bear the responsibility for protecting Gao Zhiyun. He has you as his guarantor now, but there may not be anyone to bear the responsibility for you later." Yi Changqing said in a deep voice, "Commander Nan is wise. If we can keep a talent, Yi Changqing is duty-bound. Changqing has been in the army for many years. I am confident in my judgment. Even if I can't compare with Commander Nan, I will still have some." He did not call him Minister Nan, but called him Commander Nan in the army. A subordinate making such a promise to a superior was no different from a military order in the army. Moreover, Yi Changqing's rank in the army was much lower than Minister Nan's. Nan Zhengxian was silent for a moment before he said, "Well, since you have said so, there is no harm in granting your request. But Gao Jiyun can't stay in Hidden Dragon Academy to teach anymore. I have no right to ask about the position. I will listen to the arrangements of the superior. Minister Nan thought for a moment and suddenly said, then let Gao Jiyun transfer to Shui City First High School to be the vice principal. His whole family will go there and cannot return to the capital for 100 years. Yi Changqing showed a grateful expression. Thank you, Commander Nan. He understood that Minister Nin was still worried about Gao Jiyun and deliberately put him under Gu Qianfan to watch over him for 2 years. In this way, he was indirectly relieved of his responsibility. How is Wishaoduo? Minister Nan asked. Nothing much. It's just that the child is itching for a beating. His teacher is helping to relieve the itch. Yi Changqing replied. In 2 words, he is being beaten. Minister Nan was stunned for a moment before he laughed heartily and hung up the phone. Well, this was the only good news he had heard recently. He could only be happy for once. The various departments in Shangjing began to operate at an unprecedented high speed. The law enforcement agencies were operating at full capacity, but it was still not enough. This time, they had caught too many people. The Discipline Inspection Department and other departments joined in one after another, and all the members of the military department supervised them. Later on, even the martial arts department joined in, and only then did they ensure that all the cases were heard at the same time. For a time, Southern Chiefside was under great pressure. These clans were all famous and influential, and each of them had a military background. Countless generals at the front line called to ask about it. Everyone knew one thing. Since Southern Chief Nin had made a move, it was impossible for the case to be unjust or false. It had to be a real crime. Now, it was just a matter of whether the confession would be made sooner or later, as well as the severity of the crime. No one dared to think that they could be absolved of their crimes. They all laughed and said, Hello, Marshal Nan. Do you still remember me? I am Little Monkey. He, the skinniest one in the Western Army. He. Nothing much, nothing much. I just wanted to say hello. Yes, don't worry, Marshal Nan. Thank you, Marshal Nan. Yes, all the brothers are well. Cough, cough. Actually, recently, when people get old, they think a lot and have a lot of memories. I remember the days when I drank with old Gao. Sigh. He has been dead for many years. His bones are rotting. I always want to go back to Shangjing to take a look. Sigh. I am Little Monkey. I am Little Chick from the Eastern Army. Back then, you told me that I would gain weight. It is a pity that I am still so skinny. I must live up to the name Little Chick that Marshal Nan gave me. Nothing much. I just missed Marshal Nan and called to ask about you. Ha. Didn't I just fight another battle recently? I used the same saber that Wei Zhong Yuan gave me. Now that I have made a contribution, it is inevitable that I will think of him. All right. Marshal Nan, you are busy. Hello, Marshal Nan. I am Little Dizzy Egg, the one in the Northern Army. Little Dizzy Egg, I lost myself in the military assessment. Marshal Nan, you and the other marshals named me Little Dizzy Egg together. Yes, it's nothing. I always thought that it was not easy for everyone to live. Since Marshal Nan has taken care of me so much, I especially wanted to say hello. It's cold, Marshal Nan. Do you still remember old Wu? Wu Buitao, Marshal Nan. He died in a battle on such a cold day. Sigh, Marshal Nan, you don't know how cold it is in the northern borderline. My nose is still dripping. No matter how high my cultivation is, I can't withstand the cold wind. Hello, Marshal Nan, I am covered in hair. Our brothers miss you very much. When are you coming back? When you're not here, we are not in the mood to fight and drink. It's nothing. We just haven't greeted you for a long time. We miss you so much. Yes, our old brothers are all here. Just now, big, but was still talking about the battle of the volcano. I still remember that L.V. Chongfeng was a deputy general that you personally appointed at that time. In the blink of an eye, he has died so many years ago. It's nothing, we just miss you. Okay, you're busy. If Nan Zhengxian was not in charge of such a phone call, if it were someone else, they would not have been able to handle it. Only Nan Zhengxian, the great Buddha, could sit there and calm down. No one dared to be presumptuous. Marshal Nin had been answering such phone calls for a few days. It could be said that since the people were captured, there was nothing for him to do with the interrogation. He only needed to wait for the follow-up report. However, his main job became to answer the phone calls during this period of waiting. He had a headache from answering the phone calls, but his blood was boiling. However, he had to answer the phone calls. Not a single one of them. With his official position and status, he could totally refuse to answer all these calls. He could just issue a cold order. Whoever dared to disturb him through the phone would be dealt with according to military law. Then, everything would be over. However, as a soldier, Nan Zhengxian deeply understood the feelings between comrades, especially the old brothers who were still alive. Something had happened to the family of their old comrade who had been sacrificed for many years. Even if these guys racked their brains, they would still want to ask about the situation. Now, all the calls were just to laugh it off. No one pleaded for leniency. The military was the place with the strictest laws. Who among the soldiers who had been through hundreds of battles did not know the seriousness of the military law? Since Minister Nin had personally arrested them, how could they run away? However, if they did not ask, how could they face their old comrade? Therefore, each and every one of them smiled and begged their respective commanders to get Marshal Nan's number. Then, one by one, they shamelessly called over. No one begged them. Even more so, no one asked them to do so. All of them did it on their own accord. They also knew that the descendants of their old comrade must have crossed the line. That was why Marshal Nan had personally taken action. However, at this moment, they abandoned their own principles and ran over one by one. Each of them did not even frown when they were stabbed hundreds of times by a steel knife. Now, they were all high-ranking generals who could command the world. Some of them bowed humbly, some of them flattered and said soft words. Every one of them was already so old, but they still brought up the pet names that would make them furious if they heard someone talk about them casually. They came to talk to Nan Shuai, try to worm their way into being friends with him, and indirectly revealing their past friendship. They knew that Marshal Nan had committed an unforgivable crime. Therefore, they did not say anything to plead for leniency. However, Nan Zhengxian understood that every word that came out of their mouths was a plea from the bottom of their hearts. They hoped that he would be able to feel compassion for them. It was not for this group of bastards who had forgotten their ancestors and violated the law. It was for his comrade who had been through life and death with him on the battlefield. He was no longer here. He had the obligation to help him take care of his family and continue the bloodline. Nan Zhengxian understood this feeling. He understood it better than anyone else. Therefore, he kept his phone open and answered the phone continuously. He was not annoyed at all. He wanted this group of brothers to do their best for their brothers. Even when he looked at the names of these people who called, his heart was only filled with boiling warmth and comfort. Therefore, he continued to answer these pleading phone calls. He answered them in high spirits, and his eyes were moist. Don't worry. I know what you want to say. Don't you trust me, Nan Zhengxian? Don't play tricks with me. Go do your thing. I know what you want to say better than you do. Get out of here. Go fight your war. Am I not better than you to worry about these things? I can't spare those who break the law. Can I spare even the roots? Do you look down on me so much? Do you think I'm purely cold-blooded? Just talk to me. Why are you stuttering? Even if you stutter for another year, you won't be able to ask me to be merciful. But I really won't be merciful? Okay. Stop talking. Am I not a soldier? Am I not a former comrade? I don't understand. Go do your thing. Next time, drink. The group of old generals was moved to tears. Thank you, Marshal Nan. All hail Marshal Nan. Marshal Nan, thank you on behalf of our old brothers. Thank you. The old generals were all satisfied. The more rude and impolite Marshal Nan was, the more he did not treat himself as an outsider. If he used a bureaucratic tone, this matter could not be handled. Nan Zhengxian compiled a list of all the old generals who called. The number of people exceeded the 400 mark. Only 2 days had passed. In the next few days, he did not know how many more people would call. Therefore, Marshal Nan simply waved his hand and pulled all these people into a group. This group forbids idle chatter. When the families you care about have specific results, report it in the group immediately. Stop jumping up and down. You're not the kind of people who flatter others. I'm sick of all your flattery. Go do what you are supposed to do. Let me say this first. Even if you are the descendants of the meritorious officials, you must pay the price for making a big mistake. As for the other accomplices, this time, they will be severely punished and will not be tolerated. However, if the seedlings in the family have not been seriously eroded, then their crimes do not warrant death. They will definitely not leave no one alive from the meritorious family, regardless of age or gender, and kill them all. Therefore, in the future, there will be descendants of these families who will go to the border to redeem themselves. Their ancestral homes will be preserved. When they have accumulated enough merit, they will move back. However, if they do not have enough merit at that time, then it will be because you did not teach them well and did not do your best. It will not be my fault. Do you understand? If they die in battle, it will not be anyone's fault. Do you understand? Only then did the hundreds of old generals feel reassured. Below, there was a formation. Thank you, Marshal Nan. Finally, they could account to their old brothers. Nan Zhengxian let out a sigh of relief after dealing with this matter. Those old generals were not the only ones who cared about their past relationship. How could he not care about his past relationship with his old comrades? Just as he had said, they were all descendants of meritorious officials. Even though they had been sitting in their positions without doing any work, if they were to really kill them all, how could they face the merits of their old brothers who were still standing in the ancestral hall? In the dream, if they stared at you and asked, for example, if Wei Zhongyuan came to you in your dream and asked, the family is guilty, but such a big family, is there no one innocent? Those 3-year-old and 5-year-old children are all guilty of heinous crimes. Do they have to be beheaded? Nan Zhengxian? They were indeed dead and would not ask again. However, those who were alive would not forget them. They would dream of them. That was the heart. Today's third update. Although this chapter does not have much actual content, I feel weird writing it. I don't want to continue writing. Take a break. Chapter 630. Chief Nin felt that if he really executed these families, he really wouldn't dare to face these gazes. Therefore, even if these old generals didn't come to plead for mercy, he wouldn't be so ruthless. In the past, he had fought hundreds of battles in the mountains and rivers. In exchange for a little leniency outside the law, Nan Zhengxian felt that he could be selfish for once. The law was indifferent to human feelings. It wasn't just empty talk. However, I'll clean up the culprits of the crimes for you. I believe you'll do the same if you're still around. Those who are guilty will be dealt with severely. There will be no leniency and they'll all be killed. The descendants of meritorious officials will also be punished. However, I won't implicate them. If I did it 10 years later, I'm afraid the crimes would really be monstrous. Then, not even a dog would be left. Yi Changqing didn't tell Nan Zhengxian the truth. Zhuo Xiaoduo was indeed being beaten up, but when Xing Tian wasn't the only one who was beating him up. Yi Changqing was also beating him up. When Xing Tian, Grandma Shi, Xiang Quangren, Zhan Xiaofei, and everyone else who participated in the Starlight Mountain Range rescue were all beating Zhuo Xiaoduo up. This frisky monkey had to be beaten up. After this incident, everyone was really scared to death. The truth was that he was playing hide-and-seek with them most of the time in the Starlight Mountain Range. He clearly knew that they were waiting for him, but he didn't come out to meet them. Tens of thousands of assassins were hunting him down. Even though the people outside were so anxious that their hearts were about to burst, he was still leisurely and carefree. For the next few days, Zhuo Xiaoduo was being served until he cried out in pain. I really didn't do it on purpose. Zhuo Xiaoduo explained miserably. This was clearly a plan. You used me as bait, so why did you still beat me? Can't you be more reasonable? You're all role models. Zhuo Xiaoduo felt wronged. In the end, I had already thought of a way out, but those bodyguards wouldn't let me come out and meet with you guys. There were so many super practitioners blocking in front of me. What could I do? Although these people were usually reasonable people, they intended to be unreasonable to the end when it came to him. Forget about when Xing Tian and Yi Changqing. However, Grandma Shi did not care about this. She did not know about any plan, let alone the bait. In any case, she had been so anxious these past few days that her heart had turned into 8 pieces. This little naughty monkey was actually so good at playing hide and seek. The old lady was angry. She lived close to Zhuo, so he couldn't avoid her even if he wanted to. All he had to do was think about it and rush up to her in a single breath. Within a day, Zhuo was beaten by Grandma, sure 17 to 18 times. It wasn't dark yet. Zhuo's swollen buttocks were gone, and swollen again. He deliberately put on an aggrieved face and greeted her with a pitiful look like a kitten. However, she didn't pity him at all. Instead, he was beaten even harder. You still feel wronged? You still dare to feel wronged? Grandma sure scolded him as she waved a long whip, chasing Zhuo around the villa's courtyard. No matter how he dodged, the long whip seemed to have eyes. It stuck to Zhuo's buttocks and whipped him. Wait until after dinner. Zhuo supported his swollen buttocks and returned to the bedroom under Li Chenglong's gloating gaze. It seemed that he had passed the high martial arts school, but there was still another obstacle. Zhuo was nervous. His parents probably didn't know that he had gone out for training, right? Now that it was over, he had to quickly tell them that he was safe. Family group. Obedient Xiao Duo. La la la, la la la, I'm an obedient puppy. After school today, the teacher praised me for being a good kid. Father. He. Mother. He. Body light and soft thoughts cat. He. Obedient Xiao Duo. Dad, Mom, did you miss me? 2 kissing emojis, body light and soft thoughts cat. He. Mother. School is over. You're home. Obedient Xiao Duo. Mother, you're wise and farsighted. School just ended. Back to the villa. Li Chenglong, that bastard, is still practicing martial arts downstairs. I finished my lessons early in school. He. Mother. Is Starlight Mountain Range School fun? It's a good place to play hide and seek. Obedient Xiao Duo. 2 confused emojis. Mother, dog, you've grown up. You're a man. Not bad, not bad. You're so good at telling lies. You can brag without blushing at all. Not bad, not bad. Your dad's genes are really strong. I'm a hero. I'm a bastard. I'm a bastard. Blood dripping from a broadsword emoji. Obedient Xiao Duo. Black lines on the forehead. Imperial Father. Black lines appear on his forehead. Body light and soft thoughts cat. Dog. 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 Cute and fierce voice emojis. Obedient Xiao Duo. I was wrong. I was very wrong. I shouldn't have. It's all my fault. Mother. What did you do wrong? What didn't you do wrong? Obedient Xiao Duo. I shouldn't have lied. Sob. But soft thoughts cat taught me this. Body light and soft thoughts cat dog. Gnashing teeth emoji. Mother. This ability to shift the blame is really inherited. The bastard father gave birth to a bastard son. Obedient Xiao Duo. The young and beautiful mother is mighty. His mother, who was peerless in her generation, was mighty. The mother of the national beauty was mighty. The mighty mother of the spellbinding birds and geese. His mother, who had turned into a fairy, was mighty. Mother Empress. Little bastard, are you planning to anger me to death before you're happy? Why are you flattering me? Forceful angry emoji with a smile. Body light and soft thoughts cat. The young and beautiful mother is mighty. His mother, who was peerless in her generation, was mighty. The mother of a national beauty was mighty. The mighty mother of the spellbinding birds and geese. His mother, who had turned into a fairy, was mighty. Mother, father. You child, why didn't you say something so important? You're making your mother anxious. Making use of every opportunity to show his presence. Mother, get out of my way. Do you think you're done? We still have a lot to settle, you bastard. Father. Mother, I haven't asked you yet. How's your harvest this time? Obedient Xiao Duo. I've gained a lot this time. The outside world is rich and colorful. Every time I look up, I see reinforcements. When I look down, I see treasures. When I straighten up, I see 2 demon kings fighting. Both of them are defeated. I've gained a lot. I'm rich. I'm really rich this time. Please don't call me a 2-sleeved golden wind. I'm a 2-sleeved golden mountain. Mother. Speechless emoji. Your mother is inexperienced. I've never been to the outside world. Is the outside world really so wonderful? A two-sleeved golden mountain. Is it really a two-sleeved golden mountain? Obedient Xiao duo, really? More real than real gold. I'll go home in a few days. I'll bring a lot of good things back for my parents. Then you'll know what a two-sleeved golden mountain is. Body light and soft thoughts cat. When are you going back? Let's go together. I have a lot of good things too. Obedient Xiao duo. Well, soft thoughts cat. Now that my cultivation has improved greatly, I can't be compared to the past. A mere Huayun is no longer in my eyes. It's time to let you know how powerful I am. Body light and soft thoughts cat. Hee hee, the most beautiful girl in the world accepts your challenge. Little ant-like puppy. Remember to wag your tail and bark like a dog when you lose. Don't go back on your word. Obedient little duo. It's a deal. If you lose, you have to wear a cat-eared maid costume, pretend to be a cattail, and dance your tail for me to see. Body light and soft thoughts cat. You're courting death. Furious voice. Mother, both of you get lost. Go do whatever you need to do. Let me know when you're coming back. Mother will make chive pancakes for you. Obedient little duo. Mommy is so nice. Body light and soft thoughts cat. Mother is so nice. Imperial father, what about me? No one spoke for a long time. Taking a closer look, everyone's avatars were dark and offline. Ha ha ha. Seeing that Zhuo Changlu was speechless and was still staring at the screen waiting for a reply, Wu Yuding suddenly burst into laughter. She was exceptionally happy. Zhuo Changlu gritted his teeth. Good. Last lad, you're so nice. When you come back, we'll settle our old and new debts together. Zhuo Xiaoduo put down his phone and rolled on the bed a dozen times. Then he burrowed into the quilt and chuckled like a fool. Suddenly, he sat up and pointed to the front. Nian Mao, jump for me. Twist him up. You didn't expect me to be telling the truth, did you? Cloud transformation realm cultivators are no longer in this uncle's eyes. Wahahaha. He laughed foolishly for a long time before he stood up and stuck his head out of the window. Swollen. Come on up. Zhuo Xiaoduo was ready to deal with the spoils of war. The two sleeves of gold were not just empty words. In the Starlight Mountain range, in addition to the numerous spatial rings, he had also obtained a few top-grade heavenly treasures and many spiritual plants and spiritual herbs. With so many resources, Zhuo Xiaoduo was overjoyed. However, he was not interested in organizing them. I'm busy. I don't have time. I'm only responsible for the collection and the process. As for classifying them into different categories and neatly, it was enough that they were swollen. It was better to share this joy with others than to share it alone. He had to share this joy with his friends. Hearing Zhuo Xiaoduo's loud shouts, Grandma Shi, who was in the small courtyard, revealed a relieved smile. After such a long time, she was actually a little unused to not hearing this kid's shouts. Li Qinglong wiped his sweat and went upstairs. His whole body was steaming. What's up? Swollen was working very hard now. He was racing against time in his cultivation. His level of effort was more than 10 times more than before. Even at lunchtime, he would do martial arts squats while eating. After swallowing a few mouthfuls of food, he would immediately go back to cultivate. In a day, he would spend more than 10 hours in the gravitational machine with such hard work. The results could be seen with the naked eye. His progress was very fast. Although I've positioned myself as a military advisor, I can't be a weak point. Otherwise, Zhuo won't be able to carry me. If I fall behind, I won't be able to catch up. Chapter 631. Something's up. Zhuo Xiaoduo waved his hand mysteriously, winking at him. What's up? Li Chenglong put on a cautious expression, looking cautious and suspicious. Is this guy trying to trick me again? Every time boss was showed this kind of expression, I either got screwed over or my debt multiplied again for no reason. Damn, what's with that expression? Do you think I'm tricking you? Zhuo Xiaoduo was very dissatisfied. Ha! Li Chenglong rolled his eyes at the sky and chuckled. His pronunciation was perfect. You're making my balls hurt. So Xiaoduo rolled his eyes, put the tower of destruction on the table, whistled, and pointed, go in. Li Chenglong was not to be outdone and whistled. Together. Xiaoduo rolled his eyes. Okay, 2 dogs. There were so many things, and they couldn't fit in a bedroom that was more than 20 meters long. Fisk, why are you being so mysterious? Li Qinglong knew about the existence of the Tower of Destruction. When Xingtian borrowed it and returned it to Xiaoduo, Li Qinglong was there, and when Xingtian did not hide it. Regarding this, Xiaoduo only reminded him not to leak it out, and that was it. After all, Yi Changqing had the Tower of Destruction, and it was not a secret at all. But now that the tower was in Xiaoduo's hands, there were not many people who knew about it. Xiaoduo had always been very careful when it came to keeping secrets, but Li Qinglong had always been steady, and it was not a big deal for him to keep his secret. However, only Xiaoduo knew about the change in the flow of time and the transformation of the nature of the tower. This time, asking Li Qinglong to go in was the result of Xiaoduo's careful consideration. Even if we go in, I'll have to carry you. Amidst Li Qinglong's blood-curdling screams, Xiaoduo grabbed the back of Li Qinglong's swollen neck and dragged Li Qinglong into the tower. He had to take advantage of this. Fuck, don't lift me up. Li Qinglong's feet were lifted off the ground as he was dragged in. As soon as he entered, a scorching heat wave hit him in the face. He almost suffocated on the spot. So hot. Why is it so hot in here? Huff, huff, huff. Ow. Then he screamed, fire, fire. Inside, the heart of the ardent sun had not absorbed any heat for the past few days. Of course, the heat inside was extraordinary. As soon as Li Qinglong entered, he almost immediately entered the red-hot furnace. This was also because Swollen's cultivation had improved considerably. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to bear this heat. He wouldn't be able to withstand it. Regarding this, Xiaoduo was actually holding back. He roasted Li Qinglong for a full 2 minutes before using the Flaming Sun Sutra to absorb the heat. He just stood there and watched as Li Qinglong's clothes and hair evaporated in a very short time. A brand new big bald head was born. Swollen couldn't take it anymore and wanted to go out. Xiaoduo comforted him as he absorbed the heat. After about 20 minutes, the entire space finally became warm and comfortable. It was no longer like a furnace purgatory like before. However, Li Qinglong had already followed in Xiaoduo's footsteps. He was completely naked from head to toe. Every part of his body was bare. He was squatting on the ground with his hands covering his private parts. His face was full of shame and anger. This is too much. Why aren't you wearing any clothes? You exhibitionist. Xiaoduo said with extreme disdain. Why are you covering your little worm? Fuck, don't point your butt at me. Li Qinglong wanted to cry, but no tears came out. How am I an exhibitionist? Isn't this all your fault? Do you still have a conscience? Why did you only protect my body and not my clothes? Li Qinglong hurriedly took out clothes from his space ring and put them on as he complained angrily. Being happy alone is better than being happy together. Xiaoduo touched his bald head and said, Now I finally feel a bit of balance. Brothers should share blessings and misfortunes. Don't you think so? Swollen was so angry that he was about to explode. You turned me into a bald man because of this reason. You're crazy. Don't be angry, don't be angry. There's really good news. After experiencing misfortune together, we'll naturally enjoy blessings together. Great news is waiting for you. The corpses of the 2 monster kings, the 2 saber-winged tigers in a yellow circle, and the heart of the sun had been hidden by Xiaoduo on the other side of the earth vein. It was not that Xiaoduo did not trust Li Qinglong. It was just that he had some reservations out of his cautious nature. Changlu's godchild. Relationships between people are like this. They can be so close that they can talk about anything, but they can never reveal all their wealth. Especially when it comes to treasures that you have a lot of, but your brother doesn't. Xiaoduo would always remember Changlu's teachings in his heart. Never test people's nature, because a test will be followed by a loss. It cannot be said that there were no people in this world who would not be jealous or greedy in the face of such a peerless treasure. However, it would be good if there was 1 in 10 billion people. Take the supreme gray jade of astral souls as an example. If Xiaoduo gave Li Qinglong 1 piece, Swollen would be grateful. However, if Duo gave him 10 pieces in one go, he would be inexplicably shocked, but he would not be as touched as when he was only given one piece. Furthermore, if he knew that you had 1,000 pieces or more, he might complain that you gave too little. Why didn't you give a few more pieces? You didn't care about brotherhood at all. This was probably the difference between being indebted to someone and being hated to be indebted to another. Duo would not test him like this. Why are there so many space rings? The moment Li Chenglong looked at them, he was indeed shocked. On the empty ground in front of him, there were 20 rows of space rings neatly arranged. 50 in each row. 20 rows, 50 in each row. That was a total of 1,000 space rings. 1,000 space rings. Li Chenglong felt that he was going to faint. This is simply, even if the wealth in the space rings was not included, just these 1,000 space rings were already a considerable amount of wealth. Space rings were not easy to get. For ordinary practitioners, they had to at least have cultivation in the embryonic breathing realm to have enough deific consciousness to open the space rings. So Duo had a higher starting point. The first thing he got was the space ring that Blind Hong had left him. Now, he had obtained so many space rings in one go, which made the space rings seem like common goods. In terms of quality, more than 70% of the space rings that Duo had obtained were better than the space rings that Li Chenglong was wearing. After all, it was the lifetime savings of a high-ranking bounty hunter. How could it not be good? What are the things in these rings that I have not cleaned up? I definitely can't clean it up by myself. It would be a waste of time. Let's do it together. It will definitely be faster. Duo said. Li Chenglong said angrily. What do you mean by let's do it together? Isn't it just me doing it alone? How can I not know you? Duo said matter-of-factly. Since you understand, then let's start working engineerly. Li Chenglong straightened his neck and said, How much is the commission? Duo said angrily, What commission? Li Chenglong said, Don't you pay when you hire people to work? You said that we will do it together, but how much can you do? Don't you have any idea? You still owe me now. Duo started counting with his fingers. The market value is about 1.5 Umno Alliance continents. That is that. Li Chenglong's attitude was tough. As for the debt, you can calculate it however you want and add interest. But the benefits in front of him had to be obtained first. Say it. 2 rings of the best quality with the largest storage space, and 1% of the total profits. Swollen demanded. Bullshit. Why don't you go rob a bank? It's fine if you want the rings, but you dare to ask for 1% of the total profits? That's too much. Duo was angry. Get out, I'll count it myself. I'd rather work hard than be exploited by a villain like you. I'm not going out. Also, you should know who's exploiting who. Li Chenglong, you're too greedy. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Duo was angry and started giving examples. This is like the richest man in the world. He has more than $1 trillion in assets, and he wants to know how much money he has. So he hires a few accountants and says, Count it for me. Then these accountants say to the richest man, We can count it, but we want 1% of it. Li Chenglong, do you think this is reasonable? Don't you think you're too much? Li Chenglong was stunned. Damn, it actually makes sense. Then tell me how much you'll give me. I'll give you 100 mid-grade Astral Souls Jades. Duo said generously. Are you trying to dismiss a beggar? Li Chenglong rolled his eyes. 200 mid-grade. 10,000 high-grade. Li Chenglong demanded an exorbitant price. Go to hell. 8,000. Go to hell. 5,000. Deal. Li Chenglong was discouraged. Based on his understanding of Duo, he knew that he had asked for too little. Duo crossed his legs and whipped Li Chenglong's back. You've already received your pay, so hurry up and get to work. You're a long-term worker. What are you waiting for? Even the donkeys in the production team don't dare to rest like you. Li Chenglong muttered to himself regretfully. I've lost money. I've lost money. Before Duo came back, Li Chenglong had already known that this kid must have gained a lot. As his closest subordinate, he would definitely be able to take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune. This was the inevitable outcome. Li Qinglong knew that if he went out this time, he would also share the good things with Zhuo when he came back. This was the relationship between the two of them. However, this guy treated it as his pay. This was a clear price. But this was simply bullying. I shouldn't have mentioned the pay. I should have asked for a gift. Li Qinglong felt that he had been tricked. He should have received 2 gifts, but now he only received 1. I've lost so much. He started to work on the space ring, which made him complain even more. Mamma mia, the divine sense restriction on it hasn't been broken. Isn't this a scam? Chapter 632. Li Qinglong wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This time it was even worse. He had to use his own spiritual power to melt the imprint on the ring and then erase it. Only then could he open the interspatial ring. In this way, the workload was not just multiplied, it was multiplied by 10 times or even dozens of times. It should be known that many of the imprints on the rings were left by Cloud Transformation Stage, or even Royal God Stage cultivators. Li Qinglong, the Xiao ant. Cough, cough. Left skinning. You're ruthless. Li Qinglong gnashed his teeth and began to work. Of course, the other worker was not idle either. Before Li Qinglong came in, Zhuo had already sent Xiao Long out to continue moving the earth veins. Now, the treasures in the interspatial ring could only sustain life, but could not grow. How could this be? Eat my food, live my house, play my games, drink my money, take my money, and don't work. How could this be justified? Zhuo expressed that he couldn't stand such a situation. After promising the little dragon a generous reward of 1 DD per earth vein, the little dragon happily went out to work. About 5 or 6 minutes later, the first ring was unlocked. Walla Walla, a pile of things appeared in front of him. All kinds of medicinal pills, healing pills, cultivation pills, detoxification pills, recovery pills, spirit pills. Everything. All kinds of clothes, disguise tools, hidden weapons, astral souls, jade, medicinal herbs, tents, bedding, underwear, food, drinks, tobacco, alcohol, sugar, tea, and all kinds of other things. There were also 2 martial arts manuals. There were more than 100 kinds of things. It was as if he had poured out a grocery store. Moreover, it was the super kind. Li Qinglong's heart jumped in fright. Fuck. Immediately, he sorted these things one by one. Useless things like tents, clothes, and so on were all thrown to one side. These things were either thrown out or burned to ashes in the interspatial ring. As long as they were useful, they were sorted and placed at a distance of more than 10 feet. If there were any, they were directly thrown out. In this way, 50 interspatial rings were taken out in a row. Li Qinglong completely lost his temper. He directly lay on the ground and played dead. She refused to get up no matter what. Being able to do this kind of work was simply a gift from the heavens. He handled it accurately and quickly. However, in this situation, Li Qinglong was at a loss. He had suffered a great loss. This was simply bullying. It looked like there were only 1,000 rings, but in some of the interspatial rings, there were actually several other interspatial rings. Among them, the biggest haul so far was a small mountain of resources after one of the rings was opened. There were also more than 30 space rings that had yet to be unsealed, that in other words, they weren't empty, but the kind that hadn't been checked yet, that this was equivalent to increasing the workload for the swelling by several times. Li Qinglong worked himself to death to open the first row of 50 rings, but in reality, he had done the work of 120 rings. Swollen felt like he was about to go crazy. Looking at the piles of various materials around him, he was dazzled. There were 120 rings, and the items stored in them were listed below. 1 piece of supreme grade jade of astral souls. More than 40,000 pieces of superior grade jade of astral souls. Middle grade jade of astral souls. More than 2 million. Various types of elixirs. 1,900 bottles. Various mid-grade and low-grade heavenly treasures. 140 stocks. 17 pieces of superior grade heavenly treasures. 27 martial arts manuals. Various types of swords and weapons. 340 and a mountain of miscellaneous items. Cigarettes, alcohol, sugar, tea, clothes, bedding, tents, and other daily necessities were all included in the same category. What was worth mentioning was that in one of the interspatial rings, there was a small mountain of tens of thousands of women's underwear. There were hundreds of different types of big brassieres, and all of them were of different sizes. There were hundreds of different types of underwear. Li Chenglong's eyes were wide open. His horizons had truly been broadened. He even took the underwear that looked like two strings and compared it to his body. He studied it for a long time in confusion. This is for tying hair. In short, Swollen was exhausted. Li Chenglong said weakly, you'd better deal with these first. Otherwise, your space is not enough. Li Chenglong was telling the truth. Just the underwear alone was a mountain that was hundreds of feet high. There were thousands of cigarettes, almost 4,000 to 5,000 boxes of wine, and thousands of pounds of tea leaves. Not to mention other things. Xiaoduo did not expect the scene to be so big when he just started to deal with it. Even the space-destroying tower could not handle it. He said generously, Swollen, look at these. Other than the astral souls, elixirs, manuals, elixirs, weapons, meteorites, and strange metals. You could take whatever you want. You could take them all. Li Chenglong lay on the ground. He felt his tears of sorrow flowing like a river. Damn you. You made it sound so nice. Other than what you said, the rest are the clothes, underwear, tents, bedding, and so on. Oh, and that mountain of women's underwear. So what you really mean is that you want me to throw rubbish for you. The tobacco, wine, sugar, and tea are all good stuff. They are worth a lot of money. I'll give them all to you. Are you happy now? Xiaoduo continued to be generous. Li Chenglong expressed that he didn't care. I don't want those things. Looking at the mountain of high and middle-grade star spirit jades, Swollen's heart was filled with waves of sorrow. I'm dealing with a mountain of gold. I've only cleaned up 1/20th of it, and I'm already rich enough to rival a country. But I only gave you 1 copper coin as a reward. I still owe a debt that is worth 2 continents. Wait a minute. Damn it. Since when can my debt be calculated in terms of the value of 1.5 continents? How is the interest calculated? But in the next moment, his tears turned into laughter. How many times have you compressed your embryonic breathing realm? Xiaoduo asked. Just once. Li Chenglong looked at him eagerly. Not bad. Xiaoduo said. You can practice in the Tower of Annihilation for the time being. Here are 2 pounds of high-grade demonic beast meat. The spiritual energy inside is very rich. Eat it when you practice later. Take note, this thing has to be digested bit by bit. Don't break through the barrier of the inner elixir realm all of a sudden. Otherwise, you will lose more than you gain. Okay, I understand. Li Chenglong took the 2 pounds of white and tender centipede meat. He was so happy that his 16 white teeth were showing. He knew that something good would happen. Boss is so considerate. He did not miss him so much. How could a mountain of gold and silver be more important than cultivation? Boss is awesome. I love you, boss. Roar, roar, roar. I am happy to work for you. Roar, roar, roar. You practice first and rest well. I'm going out to do something. Although it was already nighttime, Xiaoduo still went out. After he went out, he called Feng Yinhua. Hearing that Xiaoduo had returned safe and sound, Feng Yinhua almost cried with joy. Little ancestor, I followed you to the Starry Mountain range and sneaked back halfway. This is not a place where I can go. You have people protecting you, but no one can protect me. It's not easy for me to live in this life. Xiaoduo said that he had a lot of things to deal with. There are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of women's underwear. They are very fashionable. Feng Yinhua said, I'm very interested. When young master is free, I'll come and get them. Worn? Then it's okay. For Mr. Feng, it's not a problem at all. They can be put on the shelves after some processing. Mr. Feng said, I'm familiar with this. Don't worry, young Master Zhua. If it doesn't work, I'll pay some people to carry the goods. As for the other goods, Mr. Feng will take care of them. Leave them to me. I promise. Xiaoduo was relieved. Then, he went to find Mr. Sunday. Yes, Mr. Sun was the one who helped him collect the Astral Soul's jade powder. He had been away for 20 days, and the Astral Soul's jade powder had accumulated over there. It was about to overflow. Swishaodua was right. Mr. Sun bought the sports field that covered an area of almost 100 mu, and it was now filled with the Astral Soul's jade powder. The highest pile was more than 50 meters high. If Swishaoduo didn't come, Mr. Sun would have to consider buying another piece of land next to it. Swishaoduo was very satisfied with Mr. Sun's efficiency. After walking one round, he collected all the Star Soul jade powder. This action was equivalent to taking away a huge mountain. After he was done, Ba Sun looked at the flat ground under his feet, as if he was dreaming. He was a high-level cultivator after all, and his wealth was amazing. It was amazing and amazing. After settling the bill, Swishaoduo took out several hundred pounds of various kinds of tobacco, wine, sugar, and tea as a reward for Ba Sunday. Mr. Sun was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. These were all consumables stored by high-level cultivators. Every kind of tobacco, wine, sugar, and tea were all high-quality goods. Expensive cigarettes, expensive wine, and expensive tea, all of them were top-quality goods that were rarely seen in the market. Li Chenglong had no love for these things. It was mostly because he had a high standard and there were so many other good things to compare with. But for Ba Sun, getting these things was really more delightful than receiving money. In fact, the value of these things was much higher than the Astral Soul's jade powder. Mr. Sun couldn't help but feel grateful. He made up his mind that he wouldn't let Mr. Zwa down, and he would do everything beautifully. Swishaoduo left as soon as the matter was settled. He didn't give much. He only gave out 50 bottles of wine, 10 sticks of expensive cigarettes, more than 40 pounds of candy, and 5 to 6 pounds of top-grade tea leaves. These were just a drop in the ocean from what he had seized. However, he knew that it wouldn't be good if he gave too much. Tobacco, wine, and sugar were used quickly, so he gave more. Tea was slow, so he gave less. These were at least enough to support Mr. Sun for 2 to 3 months. However, if he wanted more in the future, it would depend on whether he performed well. If he really gave him all the high-end tobacco, wine, sugar, and tea in the mountain, Mr. Sun might just retire. As long as he sold those things, he would become a new super millionaire, and he wouldn't have to worry about anything for the rest of his life. Swishaoduo wouldn't do such a thing. If he retired, who would work for him? In the space, Li Chenglong was sweating profusely. It wasn't because of the heat of the heart of the sun, but because of the centipede, meat. Choo Choo didn't know how to deal with it. The meat was raw. How should he eat it? Should he eat it raw or cooked? Chapter 633. Li Chenglong felt that when Zwa gave him the meat, he did not say that it was cooked. Instead, he gave him raw meat directly. What did this mean? Did this mean that this meat had to be eaten raw for it to be effective? That should be the understanding, right? Besides, this was usually the case. Li Chenglong also thought of roasting it before eating it, but he thought that if he roasted it, the spiritual energy inside would be gone. Cough, not to mention roasting it, even if the spiritual energy was consumed. Li Chenglong felt that he would cry until he fainted. This was a great opportunity. Roasted it all away? What a joke. Looking at the white and translucent meat, it looked like prawn meat, and there was basically no fishy smell. But with this appearance, the taste should not be too bad. He would just treat it as sashimi. Li Chenglong only hesitated for a few seconds before he opened his mouth and took a big bite. Sure enough, other than a slight fishy smell, there was no other feeling. After chewing a few times, there was a faint sweetness. Fearing that he did not chew enough and could not use the spiritual energy, he closed his mouth tightly and chewed slowly in his mouth. He chewed the raw meat over and over for 5 minutes, savoring the aftertaste for a long time before he stretched his neck and swallowed it. He carefully put the rest of the meat away and began to circulate his energy to digest it. A few minutes later, Li Chenglong subconsciously screamed. He only felt that there was a sudden explosion of spiritual energy in his stomach. Countless spiritual energy suddenly emerged and rushed towards the meridians all over his body with an explosive force. The spiritual energy in his dantian that had just been compressed was rapidly increasing at a terrifying speed. Fearing for his life. It can't be, right? Only one bite. Li Chenglong didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly circulated his martial arts with all his strength to digest the abundant spiritual energy. The spiritual energy in his dantian grew denser and denser. Even though his dantian rotated faster and faster until it reached its limit, the spiritual energy rushing up from his stomach was still endless. So what Xiaoduo did not know, and neither did Li Chenglong. Li Chenglong's idea was correct. Although Zhou Xiaoduo ate a lot, the amount he ate was dozens or even hundreds of times more than swollen, and a piece of meat was worth several kilograms. However, masters were roasted the meat and ate it. Naturally, a lot of spiritual energy would be wasted during the roasting process. Although Zhou Xiaoduo benefited a lot before, it was only because of the large amount. It could be said that it was a real luxury, a waste, a reckless waste of a treasure. So Xiaoduo did not think that Fei would be so stupid as to eat it raw. However, Li Chenglong did indeed eat it raw, and the result of doing so was that the spiritual energy was not wasted at all. So the effect this time was simply explosive. Well, it was not just explosive, it was almost bursting that he was sweating profusely. He calmed himself down and did his best to compress his quintessence. Even if the timing was not right, he could not care. Rumble. Where? Zhou Xiaoduo was filling it with the Astral Soul's jade powder. But Li Chenglong did not have time to see where the sound was coming from. He had to compress it as soon as possible. Start. However, with this compression, a heart-piercing pain arose spontaneously and surged crazily. Li Chenglong's 7 orifices were full of spiritual energy. He was crazily absorbing and compressing while screaming crazily. This went on for a whole 2 hours before he lay on the ground like a pile of mud, trembling all over. The second round of compression was finally done. As for the spiritual aura in his dantian, it was still nearly half filled by the spiritual aura that entered his dantian. This is too close. What kind of meat is this? Why is it so strange? Li Chenglong took out the centipede meat and looked at it over and over in his hands. The more he looked at it, the more he liked it. Although there was still some lingering fear, it did not stop him from liking it. So good. This thing. It's a pity that I don't dare to eat anymore. If I eat again, my meridians won't be able to eat anymore. At the very least, I'll need to rest for at least 3 hours before I can continue. Haste makes waste. Haste makes waste. Li Chenglong looked as if he had found a treasure. His eyes were full of gratitude. He knew very well how rare this kind of spiritual energy that could increase one's cultivation was. It was priceless and priceless. It was a blasphemy to the spiritual energy. Anyone who obtained it would hide it well and leave it for themselves to enjoy. But Zhou Xiaoduo threw it to him like a rag. Did Zhou Xiaoduo not know the use of this meat? That was a joke. He threw it to him from the beginning and told him not to eat too much. How could he not know the terrifying effect of this thing? He knew and returned it. That was a huge favor. No, it could not be described as a favor. This was a deep brotherhood. Swollen and swollen, he conquered himself. His eyes were red and his heart was surging. He was really touched. What more can I ask for in this life to have such a brother? Li Chenglong took a deep breath. He was filled with excitement. From now on, I, Li Chenglong, will achieve great things with Zhou. Li Chenglong, when he reached the climax of his self-conquering, Zhou Xiaoduo came back. Seeing Li Chenglong in a sorry state, with bulging meridians and blood spots on his body, Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't help but jump in fright. Why did he have such a big reaction? Was it necessary? Was it necessary? Boss, Zhou. Li Chenglong rushed forward and hugged Zhou Xiaoduo. He said sincerely, "Thank you. Thank you." Zhou Xiaoduo raised his eyebrows and said deeply, "You don't have to thank me. We are brothers." Yes, we are brothers. Li Chenglong was about to cry again. He patted Zhou Xiaoduo's shoulder heavily and sniffed. Everything is said without words. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, he felt refreshed and laughed loudly. Zhou Xiaoduo was stunned again. After thinking for a while, he realized that Swollen had suddenly improved a lot and was a little too excited. Duo did not feel much because he still had tens of thousands of kilograms of such meat. He only gave away 2 kilograms in total. How could he feel? How is it? Duo asked. The second compression was completed directly. Li Qinglong was pleasantly surprised. I only took 1 bite. Only 1 bite. The spiritual energy there could not be contained. Not only did I complete the second compression, but the remaining spiritual energy also accumulated more than half of the spiritual energy in my dantian. Duo was so surprised that his eyeballs almost popped out. No way. The effect is so good. 1 bite. Is it because Li Qinglong's dantian is too small? But that shouldn't be the case. I often cultivate with Zong. No one knows him better than me. Although his dantian can't be compared with mine, it's still much stronger than the average person's. Zong's dantian can't be compared with Zong's. Fortunately, Boss reminded me not to eat too much early. Li Qinglong was still scared. He took out the meat and pointed at it. Look, I only took a small bite from here. Duo was stunned. You ate it raw. Li Qinglong was stunned with the meat in his hand. He paused for a while before he came back to his senses. It tastes good raw. It's not inferior to raw fish. Don't you? Eat it raw. Duo looked strange. It's not sashimi. Of course, it's roasted and stewed. The expression on Li Qinglong's face immediately turned extremely strange. After a while, he said fiercely, I like to eat it raw. This meat tastes fresh and sweet. It's delicious. It's your loss that you didn't eat it raw. Ha ha. Duo looked at him and couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect this guy to be so reckless. Did he really think it was sashimi? What? What are you laughing at? Not only will I eat it raw now, I will eat the whole piece raw. Li Qinglong was angry out of humiliation. I know that you eat it after roasting it. Even if it tastes better after roasting it, it will inevitably lose most of its spiritual energy. Li Qinglong said with a pained expression, I know you're laughing at me, but I really can't bear to roast and eat such a precious treasure. Duo patted Li Qinglong's shoulder. You think too much. I'm not laughing at you. You should eat it raw. You're doing the right thing. Ha ha. Li Qinglong was furious. The two of them started to wrestle. After a long time, the two of them calmed down. Li Qinglong went out of the Tower of Annihilation to rest. He really needed a rest now. After he went out, he fell asleep on the bed. When he woke up, he found that it was dawn. He washed up and went to school. When he arrived at school, he went to class. When he entered the gravity room to set the time, he found that his phone was broken. It's only 9 o'clock, but it's already afternoon. The quality of this phone is really bad. Unscrupulous merchants. I will never buy Fruit Brand in the future. He quickly adjusted his phone, put it into the space ring, and began to cultivate. After Li Qinglong left, Duo also sat down and seriously considered this problem. He had harvested tens of thousands of pounds of meat this time. Li Qinglong could improve so much with just 1 bite. However, he didn't feel anything after eating for a few days. Did this mean that there was a limit to the effect of this thing? When the body adapted to this energy, no matter how much he ate, there wouldn't be any growth. In other words, no matter how much he ate, it would only satisfy a little of his appetite. It wouldn't have any more effect. Even if he left the portions for his parents, Missing Cat, Wanli Xiao, Yu Moyan, Teacher Hu, and the others, it wouldn't consume too much. Based on Li Qinglong's weight, 200 to 300 pounds would be enough for everyone. No matter how much he used, he would be able to withstand 1,000 pounds. But there is still a lot of surplus left. He couldn't waste it, right? How should he deal with it? Sell it? Sell it to a first-grade firmament like before? No, this time was different from the past. This was the meat of the star beast Demon King, the essence of it. If he sold it rashly, it might benefit someone. Should he discuss it with Principal Yi tomorrow? No. Principal Yi was a selfless person. With his character, he would probably persuade him to donate it. Moreover, there was a high chance that he would take action. Why not just sell it so you should discuss it with Teacher Wen tomorrow. Teacher Wen, this person, in terms of closeness, Duo was more inclined towards Wen Xingtian. If only Teacher Qin Fangyang was here. Duo sighed. Suddenly, his eyes flashed. Why was he so stupid? Teacher Chin wasn't here, but he could use the phone to contact Teacher Chin. Looking for monthly votes, recommendation votes, subscription. Thank you. Cough. No double monthly votes this month. Chapter 634. He was not at the Starlight Mountain Range now, so he could contact him by phone. It seemed that he had not contacted Teacher Chin for a long time, and he missed him quite a bit. Since he wanted to do it, he took out his phone. However, when he came out of the Tower of Annihilation, he looked up. Damn, it was already the latter half of the night. It was better to fight in the morning. While Zhou Xiaoduo was missing Qin Fanyang was still in the Starlight Mountain Range, still fighting. He was bathed in blood. He had only joined the battle at the Starlight Mountain Range in the latter half of the battle. The moment he arrived, he showed a murderous aura. With Qin Fanyang's character, he did not have any scruples. In his opinion, everyone who came here was here to kill his student. They all had bad intentions and were all enemies. He might not be able to find his student, but he knew how to kill. Every time he killed one, he would be in less danger. Therefore, during this period, Qin Fanyang was really more of a killer than a killer. The others had a specific target. However, Qin Fanyang did not. Whoever he met, he killed. As long as he could defeat them, he would kill without mercy. Of course, if he met those he could not defeat, he would turn and run. He would not linger. He was in the last 4 days of this game. However, in these 4 days, the number of people who died in his hands had exceeded the 500 mark. Although his battle achievements were remarkable, he had also caused himself to be riddled with scars. In the end, Zhou Xiaoduo had already left. However, Qin Fanyang did not know that Zhou Xiaoduo had left and was safe. In fact, most of the bounty hunters did not know that Zhou Xiaoduo had already left the Starlight Mountain Range. They continued to hide. As a result, Qin Fanyang was still in a constant battle atmosphere. At this time, the Starlight Mountain Range had become a natural hunting battlefield. 2 of the 3 monster kings guarding this area were gone. The remaining Tiger King was also scared out of its wits. Even if the battle was on top of its head, the Tiger King did not care. Originally, there were countless people hunting Zhou Xiaoduo. However, now, it was Qin Fanyang who was hunting the remaining people. How could some masters not know that Zhou Xiaoduo had already left and returned to the martial arts Hidden Dragon High School after noticing that all the members had left? This time, the bounty was destined to be a failure, so they all went back. Some of them even went to Foam High City to try their luck. Those who didn't know that Zhou Xiaoduo had left were still waiting in the Starlight Mountains. Qin Fanyang was elusive in his hunting, but he was also elusive in his escape. This wait lasted until the wee hours of the morning. Pluto Palace issued a notice. Explanation of the bounty on Zhou Xiaoduo. Everyone clicked on it and was dumbfounded. I don't know why, but the person who put up the bounty withdrew the bounty and even killed the supervisor of the King of Hell Palace. Now, the King of Hell Palace has started to hunt down the few families that have put up the bounty. With this announcement, the reward was gone. Furthermore, the Hell King Palace didn't bear any responsibility. They were even the victims. There were a lot of excuses. For a moment, the entire underground world was filled with curses. Wasn't this a joke? There were more than 100,000 people playing the bounty with you. Many of them had just finished their own business and were rushing here. They were really on their way, but you canceled the bounty? Was this a joke? Was this a joke? Furthermore, the underground world's bounty had never been allowed to be canceled. Whoever dared to cancel, it would inevitably face the anger of the world's assassins. The moment the bounty was released, the wealth and treasures needed for the bounty would be taken over by the people of the King of Hell Palace, who was so bold that they even dared to kill the people of the King of Hell Palace. Suddenly, there were discussions everywhere. After about 10 minutes, the King of Hell Palace released the hunting progress chart. About 2 hours later, the first hunting progress chart suddenly turned black and ended, turning into a string of ellipses. All the assassins who were paying attention to the information were in an uproar. This meant that the gold medal assassin sent by the King of Hell Palace was killed. The King of Hell Palace immediately issued a new notice. the other party's current identity is fake. The third palace master of the King of Hell Palace will personally lead the troops to arrest the culprit. After the investigation, the entire family will be under the King of Hell Palace. The King of Hell Palace will offer a bounty of the same price to this family. Note, the original bounty for Zhuo Xiaoduo is cancelled. All the assassins were filled with righteous indignation. Not anger towards the King of Hell Palace, but anger towards the person who issued the bounty. After so many days, it had caused an unusually heavy number of casualties. It's time, but you ran away. What a fucking thing this was. The entire underground world was in complete chaos. No one suspected that the King of Hell Palace was faking it, because this kind of faking was an irreparable loss for the King of Hell Palace. The loss of reputation alone was unbearable. All the assassins left messages one after another. Find them. Count me in on the hunt. You must find them and join the hunt. I can't get that bounty, so I'll take this one. The crowd was agitated. But at this time, Qin Fangyang also knew that Zhuo Xiaoduo had returned to Fenghai City. Since he knew that Zhuo Xiaoduo was safe, he instantly lost interest in hunting these people. He, who was riddled with wounds, found a secret place and began to heal his wounds. He was going to go to the Hidden Dragon High School to check on Zhuo Xiaoduo at dawn. After making sure that Zhuo Xiaoduo was fine, he was going to leave. However, when the sun rose in the morning, he took out his phone to check the time and found a message from Zhuo Xiaoduo. "Teacher Qin, where are you?" Qin Fangyang immediately replied, "I'll call you in 2 hours." Zhuo Xiaoduo replied, "Okay." Qin Fangyang immediately came out of his hiding place and left the Starlight Mountains as fast as lightning. He didn't even turn his head. After receiving Qin Fangyang's reply, Zhuo Xiaoduo immediately felt relieved. He felt that he had a backbone to support him. Then he would wait for Teacher Qin's news. Zhuo Xiaoduo's trust in Qin Fangyang not only exceeded when Xingtian, but also almost caught up with Hurrian. When Xingtian was still likely to consider problems from the perspective of the academy and the overall situation. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo firmly believed that Teacher Qin would only consider problems from his own standpoint. This was the fundamental difference between the two of them. The reason why he trusted Teacher, who was also the same. While Zhuo Xiaoduo was waiting for Qin Fangyang, it was already 7 o'clock in the morning. Xiaolong was panting heavily as he moved an earth vein back to the cave. He was just chased out to work yesterday. In less than a day and a night, he actually came back with a ley line. Wasn't his efficiency too high? How can you be so fast? Zhuo Xiaoduo was a little in disbelief. Xiaolong was so tired that he was out of breath. While panting, he gestured and explained. It turned out that this guy had divided a ley line into 5 parts and then took out 1/5 of it. Every day, he would move about the same amount. One ley line would be taken out for 4 days, leaving 1/5 behind to maintain the original landscape. It was not a big deal done in this way. It wouldn't cause any big changes when he took out the other ley lines. This way, he could deal with it faster. Zhuo Xiaoduo agreed that this idea was very correct. A small stream flowed slowly was the absolute truth. It was much more reliable than building a tall building all at once. Xiaolong saw the jade astral soul's powder that was like a small mountain at a glance. He was immediately energized. He started work again, and he was in high spirits. This time, the amount of jade astral soul's powder collected was almost twice as much as the total amount of jade astral soul's powder collected before. It was really worth being happy about. Overnight, the space in the Tower of Annihilation changed greatly. The ley line was originally very short, but now the highest point was already dozens of meters high. It was long and winding, and it seemed to have a bit of an atmosphere. However, the matter of changing the ley line in the space was not as simple as Zhuo Xiaoduo thought. Xiaolong had been busy since he came back. He was busy until Qin Fangyang called, but he was still busy. He was so busy that he was overjoyed. As the saying goes, every profession has its own specialist. Zhuo Xiaoduo would not accompany him. After all, Zhuo Xiaoduo knew nothing about how to do these things. He could only let Xiaolong do it on his own. It was fine as long as he couldn't swallow the thing inside. Xiaolong repeatedly said that he couldn't do it. It was just a virtual shadow. He couldn't swallow it even if he wanted to. At this moment, Qin Fangyang called. His voice was as calm as ever. "What's the matter?" His voice was calm, and there was a hint of impatience in his tone. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo could still hear the hidden happiness and relief in Qin Fangyang's voice. I miss you, Teacher Qin." Zhuo Xiaoduo hurriedly laughed. "Nonsense. Why do you miss an old man like me?" Qin Fangyang rebuked angrily. However, he couldn't hide the indescribable comfort in his heart. In order to hide his emotions, Qin Fangyang coughed and said angrily, "If you have something to say it quickly. Is your skin too tight and you need to be taught a lesson?" So Xiaoduo chuckled. "Teacher Qin, your voice is so light. It seems like you're really itching for a beating." Qin Fangyang was impatient. "If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." All right. So Xiaoduo hurriedly said, "Don't hang up. Please don't hang up. The thing is, there's something I can't make up my mind about. Other than you, I really don't feel at ease asking anyone else." Qin Fangyang snorted. The cold tone he tried to put on melted instantly. He asked with concern, "What's the matter?" So Xiaoduo hesitated. "Where are you now? It's best to talk about it in person. It's not convenient to talk over the phone." It was naturally better to talk about this matter in person. It could also force Qin Fangyang to eat some of it. With such good meat and such a great bargain, it was naturally best to take care of his own people first. Qin Fangyang was silent for a moment, then said, "I'm almost at Fenghai." "Almost at Fenghai." So Xiaoduo, who heard the news on the other side of the phone, immediately shouted excitedly. Then he heard this brat roaring and shouting as if he was doing somersaults on the other side of the phone. He was extremely excited. "Teacher Qin, you must have been at the Starlight Mountain Range before, right?" So Xiaoduo said happily, "I knew it. I was wanted, and I was being hunted down. You definitely wouldn't just stand by and watch." Qin Fangyang felt that his heart was getting warmer and warmer. However, he said coldly, "Before your old principal died, he told me to keep an eye on you bastards. If it were me, I wouldn't even bother to move." Sundara. Teacher Qin was Sundara again, so Xiaoduo rolled his eyes happily. Chapter 635. So Xiaoduo cursed in his heart, but he still felt like his heart was about to explode from happiness. "Come quickly. I'll send you the location. I'll prepare the food and wine. I have the best food and wine waiting for you. Ha. I'll call Li Qinglong to come back." Qin Fangyang only felt the thick ice in his heart melting layer by layer. For a moment, he felt a sense of loss. He couldn't help but smile and say, "Okay." Teacher Qin put down his phone and looked at the sky. It was 8:30 in the morning. Lunch would be a good time. Qin Fangyang found a lakeside and looked at his face and the wounds on his body while facing the quiet lake water. He calmly took off his clothes and jumped into the lake to clean himself up. Then he went ashore and carefully treated all the wounds on his body. He tried his best to make it as inconspicuous as possible. He drank 4 bottles of the life origin water that he was reluctant to drink before. He wasn't stingy with the pills that could restore his cultivation and blood. He swallowed several of them. After another round of meditation, he was full of energy again. Then he found a clean set of clothes from his spatial ring and put them on. He even changed his boots. Then he took out a pair of razors and carefully shaved off the messy beard that he hadn't shaved for several months, revealing his handsome face. He even trimmed his hair in front of the water. His whole person looked like a brand new person with extraordinary vigor. A snow-white shirt and a neat outer garment. This kind of formality made Qin Fangyang feel a little uncomfortable and flustered, but he still held it in. After all, he was going to Hidden Dragon High School to visit his own student. She had to give the child face, so she had to do it. This time, he was Xiaoduo's martial arts teacher. He came to Hidden Dragon High School. He represented not only himself, but the entire Phoenix City's second high school. He Yuanyue, Li Changjiang, Huriyun, Luo Lai, Jiang Zhangbin, and Phoenix City. He represented everyone's face. Qin Fangyang realized that his mentality was a little abnormal. He was a little excited and couldn't help but laugh at himself. Then, he covered his chest and said softly, "Are you happy? I'll go see the children. I'll tell you the details after you've finished reading. The child hasn't forgotten us." He stood there quietly for a moment before taking a step forward. He flew towards Fenghai City at lightning speed. His figure was like a wisp of smoke, moving faster and faster. Qin Fangyang forced himself to calm down, but he couldn't control the fact that his speed was getting faster and faster. He also couldn't control the urgency and even the burning feeling in his heart. My child, the child I raised with all my heart. Although it has only been 6 or 7 months, how much have you all grown? Duo was also overjoyed. He felt like his heart was about to explode. He ran back and forth in the courtyard twice, and even ran to Granny Shi's courtyard. He jumped twice and announced, "Granny Shi, my teacher Qin is coming to see me." Grandma Shi was in the middle of sorting vegetables. Hearing this, she straightened her back and looked at him. She smiled and said, "Teacher Qin, looking at how excited you are, you must be my teacher, right? Be careful not to make your teacher when jealous." Duo chuckled and scratched his head. "Since your teacher is coming to see you, you have to tell your teacher when." Grandma Shi reminded him, "This kind of communication between teachers is the best thing to do. Your teacher when will definitely come." Duo suddenly understood and said, "Okay, prepare more food and wine tonight. There will probably be a lot of people for tonight's meal." Grandma Shi reminded him. "Okay." Duo nodded. Then he skipped all the way back to his room and called Wen Xingqian to inform him of this matter. Then, Duo excitedly went out to buy vegetables. Although there were many good things in the ring, Duo still felt that it wasn't enough. Especially, there weren't enough vegetables that were qualified. Duo left a trail of dust and went to first-grade firmament. Yes, he was going there to buy vegetables. Now that he had a mountain of gold, of course he could be willful with money. Compared to Xiaoduo's joy, when Xingtian immediately became serious. When Xingtian had heard the name Qin Fangyang so many times that his ears grew calluses. He didn't know how many times he had heard it from Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong. In Wen Xingtian's opinion, at least one point was worth affirming, and there was no doubt about it. Although he was very confident, and he had done his best to teach students, at least in Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong's hearts, Qin Fangyang's position was still unshakable. He could never replace Qin Fangyang's position in the hearts of these two geniuses. To put it bluntly, if he and Qin Fangyang were to meet with death at the same time, Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong would only save Qin Fangyang first. This had nothing to do with one's cultivation level. It was because of their deep friendship. It was this understanding that made Wen Xingtian very curious. This Qin Fangyang, what kind of person was he? How could his charisma be so great? Therefore, he had already checked Qin Fangyang's information many times. Qin Fangyang probably couldn't remember many small things, but Wen Xingtian knew. The more he checked, the more he admired him. The more he checked, the more he appreciated him. An absolute man, an absolute man, an absolute warrior, an absolute lover, and an absolute good teacher. A teacher who could burn his own legacy for the sake of his students. It would be strange if such a teacher couldn't obtain the sincerity of his own students. Now that Qin Fangyang was here, Wen Xingtian thought more than Xiaoduo. Wasn't this a test for him? Wasn't this a test for the Hidden Dragon Realm? This matter could be said to be very small, but it could also be said to be very big. If the Hidden Dragon Realm didn't pay much attention to it, after Qin Fangyang left, Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong would at least hold a grudge against him even if they didn't cause any trouble. Wen Xingtian immediately informed Yi Changqing about this matter. Yi Changqing also felt that the Hidden Dragon Realm couldn't be weak. Then he told Xiang Quangren about this matter. Xiang Quangren felt that this was an opportunity. He straightforwardly said that he would bring Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing to attend the ceremony. Then, Vice Principal Gao also said that he was about to be transferred away. He had already handed over all his work. At this last moment, if he could strengthen the Hidden Dragon Realm's reputation, he wouldn't pass on his responsibility. Vice Principal Chung had already returned to the Hidden Dragon Realm. Although he hadn't returned to his original position, he had already started to participate in the school's management. He also said that he wanted to drink a few cups of wine. Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong had helped a lot in the Chung family's affairs. Vice Principal Chung had long wanted to thank them in person, so he wanted to take this opportunity to thank Qin Fangyang face-to-face. After all, they were his students. As for the other vice principals, Vice Principal Wei, Vice Principal Wu, and Vice Principal Liu had already been relieved of their duties. They were even locked up. The people from Shangjing were on their way here. When they arrived, they would be escorted back. These three wouldn't come. However, the other vice principal, the already disabled Vice Principal Liu, was given a strict order by Yi Changqing. He must come. In Yi Changqing's opinion, Vice Principal Liu was the glory of the Hidden Dragon Realm. In order to protect his students, he had become disabled for life. It was to show the spirit of the Hidden Dragon Realm. Although Vice Principal Liu was disabled, if he didn't come, Yi Changqing would feel a little weak when facing Qin Fangyang. Qin Fangyang was willing to burn his soul for his students. Who in the Hidden Dragon Realm could do that? Vice Principal Zhan, the father of teacher Zhan Xiaofei, said that he had to drink this wine. There were also 3 vice principals who didn't have much of a presence. One was in charge of logistics, one was in charge of cultural theory, and the last one was in charge of miscellaneous affairs. They had also received Yi Changqing's notice. However, the 3 of them were used to not having much of a presence. They politely declined and said that they wouldn't join in the fun. We're in the Hidden Dragon Realm for our retirement. If we go, we'll only lose face. We won't go and embarrass ourselves. Yi Changqing said that he understood. The 3 of them had long been focused on their retirement. They weren't young anymore. There was no room for improvement in their cultivation. They were only a few decades away from the end of their lifespans. Even if they didn't have any desires, they were close. Zhan Xiaofei strongly expressed that he had to go this time. He had to go. No matter what, Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong were brought to the Hidden Dragon Realm by him. He had to drink this wine. He had to go even if he didn't want to. Vice Principal Zhan directly scolded him away. You're going to drink too? We're going to share the same table? You want to be on equal footing with me? Teacher Zhan Xiaofei covered his face and left. He was still unwilling. In short. In total, those who were prepared to attend the banquet from the Hidden Dragon Realm were Yi Changqing, Wen Xingtian, Vice Principal Liu, Vice Principal Xiang, Vice Principal Chung, Vice Principal Zhan, Vice Principal Gao. There were also 2 juniors, Xiang Chong and Xiang Bing. In addition, Li Chenglong and Zhou Xiaoduo. Of course, there was one person who couldn't be ignored. That was Grandma Sure. However, Grandma Sure wasn't someone who was invited by Yi Changqing. She had long been listed as the top guest of Zhou Xiaoduo's banquet. Her position was even higher than Wen Xingtian and Yi Changqing. It could be said that if all the people at the Hidden Dragon Realm were to be caught in one fell swoop, the Hidden Dragon Realm would never be able to recover from this setback. There would be no future to speak of. It was also very possible that the Hidden Dragon Realm would collapse like ice. Wen Xingtian and Yi Changqing were both preparing themselves. Especially Wen Xingtian. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. Zhou Xiaoduo rarely treated people. He didn't understand at all what Qin Fangyang's visit meant. Perhaps after knowing the considerations of both sides, he would laugh in his heart and think that Qin Fangyang was making a big fuss over nothing. But these matters, whether it was Qin Fangyang, Yi Changqing, or Wen Xingtian, they all knew about it. Moreover, they paid attention to it and cared about it very much. In the end, it was just one word. Shame. The good children that I painstakingly trained have come to your side. How had you taught them? These 2 children, in my hands, are the seeds of peerless geniuses. Under my education, they didn't let down their aptitude at all. In my hands, they already have the potential to soar into the sky. Now that they're in your hands, what have you done? What are the abilities of you bunch of teachers? Can I rest assured and hand my children over to you? The Hidden Dragon Realm, from top to bottom, is ready for battle. Chapter 636. In this meeting, Even if Qin Fangyang casually said something bad or showed the slightest dissatisfaction, the hidden Dragon High martial artist would feel embarrassed and lose face for the hidden Dragon High martial artist. Being despised by the student's first teacher, that everyone would feel a burning sensation on their faces, and it would not feel good. How could Yi Changqing and the others not be cautious? If it were the other two students, perhaps they would not take it so seriously. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong were different. Yi Changqing and the others firmly believed that if these two children did not die prematurely due to bad luck, as long as they grew up, they would definitely be recorded in the textbooks in the future. They would definitely be immortal legends in the future. At that time, whether it was Qin Fangyang, He Yuan Yue, Yi Changqing, or Wen Xingqian, they would all be recorded in the history books together. This was something that could be expected. If they were recorded in the history books, Yi Changqing felt that even if he died at that time, he would not be able to rest in peace. The image in the history books. Therefore, this was a big matter. 11 o'clock in the morning. Qin Fangyang's tall and straight figure appeared at the entrance of the villa. Zhuo Xiaoduo, who had been waiting for so long, cheered and rushed forward. He did not care about Qin Fangyang's strict, "Be more steady. What are you doing?" reprimanded him and directly rushed forward to hug him, laughing and jumping. "Ha ha, Teacher Qin, when you left, I thought you wouldn't care about us anymore." So Xiaoduo laughed loudly at first, then his eyes turned red. The words that followed actually sounded a little aggrieved. Thinking back to when Qin Fangyang decided to leave, he felt sad. Qin Fangyang's heart was surging with emotions. "I won't care about you anymore. That how can I not care? These are the children that I poured my heart and soul into. How can I not care about them? After being away for so long, the ones that I can't let go of the most are you little ones. Especially this frisky monkey in front of him who was kicked by him like a shuttlecock in Phoenix City's second high school." Qin Fangyang's eyes instantly turned red. She gently stroked Zhuo Xiaoduo's head and said softly, all right, let's go in first." Countless memories of the past flooded his mind. Many things of the past suddenly surged into his mind, rising and falling. The peaches and plums of the spring breeze under the heavens are carved with a jade brush for 10,000 years. This was Zhuo Xiaoduo's comment to He Yuan Yue. Now, Qian thought the child was still safe. Did you see that?" Li Chenglong, who had already taken a leave of absence because of this matter, also rushed up like a tiger. "Teacher Qin, woo. Swollen was so happy that he shed tears. "It's so good to see you again. What are you crying for? What a good-for-nothing." Qin Fangyang frowned. Go in. Okay. So Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong, one on the left and one on the right, pulled Qin Fangyang into the villa. "I've already brewed your favorite tea." The three of them disappeared at the entrance of the villa. At the entrance of the small courtyard, Grandma Sher had a rare smile on her face. She recognized Qin Fangyang. "I didn't expect Qin Fangyang, one of the top 10 desperados, to be so loved and respected by the students. Not bad." Yi Changqing and the others could not come now. They had to leave some time for them to meet and greet the students. If they came too early now, it would only appear that they were too deliberate. Principal Yi and the others still had a good grasp of this. Not bad. You can actually live in a standalone villa. Qin Fangyang was very surprised by this. He did not hide it and directly asked, Hee, Teacher Qin, you're so handsome today. Umph. Qin Fangyang felt uncomfortable under the gaze of Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong. He said angrily with a fierce face, "What are you looking at? Why, can't I wear good clothes as a teacher? That's not it. The main thing is that Teacher Qin is really handsome today. You're a proper middle-aged handsome man, and also unprecedentedly formal." Even when he was working as a teacher, Qin Fangyang did not dress so formally. It was unprecedented. His hair was neat and tidy, and his face was clean. Then, he wore a snow-white shirt with the kind of wrinkles that had just been opened, paired with a well-ironed blue gown and a pair of brand-new, black, shiny, high-end leather shoes that could almost be used as a mirror. Everything showed Qin Fangyang's seriousness. And TSK, TSK, TSK. TSK, TSK, TSK. Zhuo and Li Chenglong sniffed around Qin Fanyang. When they saw Qin Fanyang just now, they smelled a faint fragrance. Qin Fanyang actually used perfume. Yes, it should be a men's perfume. Teacher Qin's perfume is so high-end. Li Chenglong praised. A man's perfume should be so faint. It's useless if it's a little light, but it's a little thick, it's a little tacky. Teacher Qin is indeed knowledgeable and has good taste. Go away. You two brats, do you know what a man's taste is? Qin Fanyang's face turned red. He slapped Li Chenglong 3 meters away. Teacher Qin was really a little embarrassed now. Fuck, if I didn't do it for the two of you, would I have to dress so formally and seriously? If I dress so formally, I'm afraid that the last time I dressed like this was decades ago, when I was with Qianqian. After fooling around for a while, the three of them sat down to drink tea. Many years have passed since we parted in Feng City. We've worn away in the mortal world. Today, we meet again, and you're fine, and they talked about the past in detail. Qin Fanyang's face was full of rare smiles. He quietly listened to Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong talk about what happened after they parted. They started from the Central Plains Longhu list. They talked about everything, big and small, all the way. At this moment, Qin Fanyang played the role of the most qualified listener. From time to time, he would ask, what happened after that? To help the two of them talk. They talked from 11:10 to 12 o'clock. Then, the three of them had a simple meal. Well, actually, they were still talking. They talked as they ate. After they finished eating, they continued to talk. They talked all the way until 1:30. Finally, they came to an end. Qin Fanyang listened with a smile. He listened to the two of them talk about the mountain and the dust, but he didn't expose them. Li Chenglong went to class reluctantly. The reason was that when Qin Fanyang heard the last sentence, he said with a smile, Xiaoduo, I have something to talk to you about in a while. Li Chenglong had always been an understanding person. Teacher Qin must have something important to say this time. Since he didn't say it in front of him, then he shouldn't ask. Seeing Li Chenglong leave, Zhuo Xiaoduo sighed softly and said, Actually, there's no need to hide this matter from Swollen. It's just that the benefits are too great. If it's not necessary, I don't want to get him involved. Qin Fanyang said clearly, Your consideration isn't wrong at all. Young people are hot-blooded and loyal. They are often willing to share any secret with their friends. Even if they think that they are hiding something from their brothers, they would feel guilty. But what I want to tell you is, the loyalty of young people is unreliable. They are too hot-blooded and too impulsive. Especially when huge benefits are involved, it's too easy for them to lose their composure. So, before we go through life and death together, before our friendship is verified by life and death and benefits, don't share all your secrets. If you fall out with each other, it will be a lifetime of pain. There was pain in Qin Fanyang's eyes that he didn't want to recall. Back then, when he went out with Qianqian and those 3 classmates, did he not treat them as brothers and friends because he was young? But when huge benefits were involved, the young and inexperienced at that time couldn't hold back. There are too many regrets in my life, all because I trusted too easily. Qin Fanyang sighed deeply. Xiaoduo, let me tell you something. You must remember it. Zhuo Xiaoduo said respectfully, Please tell me. Sometimes, when it's appropriate to hide something, it's not because you let your friends down, but because you don't want to lose them. Everyone has secrets that they can't let others know. That's a normal life and a normal relationship with friends. Zhuo Xiaoduo listened thoughtfully. That sentence really made him think about it for a long time. Qin Fanyang smiled faintly and said, I know that you are close and close. Then, do you have any secrets that you can't let Li Chenglong, Long Yuxing, and the others know? Zhuo Xiaoduo was stunned and said, There is. Qin Fanyang continued to ask, Do they have secrets that they can't tell you? Zhuo Xiaoduo was startled once again and said, Of course there are. Qin Fanyang said meaningfully, Then are you close? Zhuo Xiaoduo understood. Yes. Qin Fanyang patted him on the shoulder. That's why it's normal. Zhuo Xiaoduo nodded slowly. Those words had a big impact on him. Because just now, Zhuo Xiaoduo felt that if he talked to Teacher Qin like that and asked Li Chenglong to leave, Wouldn't he be letting his brother down? This kind of thought really made him feel uncomfortable. And Qin Fanyang obviously saw this, so he deliberately said those words to dispel the negative feelings in his heart. Because Qin Fanyang knew that children of this age were very easy to conquer. They would have the thought, am I letting my brother down by doing this? And once this thought arose, it could no longer be suppressed. Especially when their brother showed some dissatisfaction at a certain time, they would have the thought of making up for what happened before. Once this thought arose, they would often do something like, "Brother, do you know I didn't let you know about what happened last time? How could I?" After saying that, they would feel happy, thinking that they had opened their hearts to their brother. But they didn't expect that this was an extremely childish behavior, because often, after doing this, they would lose this friend. At least, the friendship they had accumulated in the past would be difficult to continue, and all secrets could not be kept. Young people were new to the world. They lacked the basic experience and had not gone through many tests. Friendship at this time was the best and purest state, but it was also the most vulnerable and dangerous state. Qin Fanyang felt that he needed to teach them this lesson. Seeing Zhuo Xiaoduo's thoughtful and enlightened look, Qin Fanyang couldn't help but smile amiably. If all the young people in the world could understand this, then the tragedy of Qianqian and I might not happen again. Now, can you tell me what you can't make up your mind about? Qin Fanyang chuckled. Chapter 637. Here's the thing. Zhuo Xiaoduo said, I got some things by accident, and there are a lot of them. These things are extremely beneficial to martial artist cultivation, but I can't make up my mind on how to deal with these things. As he spoke, Zhuo Xiaoduo took out a large piece of meat. Teacher Qin, this is for you. Qin Fanyang was a martial arts expert. Regardless of cultivation or experience, he was an experienced martial artist. Although he had just entered the god-reigning realm, he had experienced hundreds of battles. His insight and experience were far beyond that of ordinary god-reigning cultivators. As soon as he touched this piece of king-level demon beast meat, he could feel the vigorous and pure spiritual energy within it. He was so shocked that he almost jumped up. This is too valuable. Qin Fanyang's expression changed. The large piece of meat in his hand was at least 200 kilograms. How could he accept it? Accepting such a large gift rashly was beyond the scope of teacher-student friendship. What was Zhuo Xiaoduo's cultivation level? How did he get such a high-end item? Teacher Qin, I have to tell you this seriously. This thing, I have tens of thousands of kilograms. Tens of thousands of kilograms. Qin Fanyang was stunned. It's a coincidence. Cough. Someone else killed it and didn't want it, so I picked up a bargain. Zhuo Xiaoduo laughed mischievously. He looked around and said sneakily, picked up a bargain. Qin Fanyang sighed. You really dared to pick up such a bargain that looks like this person knows you, and your friendship is not ordinary, right? If it's a stranger, why don't you try picking up this bargain? Believe it or not, this person can easily take your life, but this kid's luck is really good. So Xiaoduo said in distress, the reason why I gave you these is because after a person eats about 100 kilograms, or after eating a few times, the body will get used to it, or it will develop a resistance to it, and it can no longer increase its cultivation level. Otherwise, I would have given you a few thousand kilograms. So Xiaoduo grinned. He deeply felt that he had given too little. Hearing this, Qin Fanyang pondered for a while. Looking at the meat in front of him, he said, the meat of demonic beasts does have this characteristic. The fundamental reason is that demonic beasts are fundamentally different from human beings because of their meridians and cultivation system. After they absorb the energy of heaven and earth, they don't have the systematic digestion and cultivation like human beings. No matter how many treasures they eat, or how many other demonic beasts they eat, they store all the energy in their own bodies. This is also the fundamental reason why the bodies of demonic beasts are much stronger than those of human cultivators of the same level. If you still don't understand, let's make another example. A cloud transformation realm demonic beast usually hunts nascent soul transformation realm and primal core realm star beasts. In this cloud transformation realm demonic beast has to eat a few meals a day. It has to eat a lot of star beasts a day. And according to the human understanding of spiritual energy, all the star beasts that it ate contained a large amount of spiritual energy in their bodies. Am I right? Zhuo nodded. Yes, you are right. And this cloud transformation realm demonic beast needs dozens of years before it can reach the God-reigning realm. The longer it takes, the more it needs to train. During this period of time, the food it eats are those star beasts. If the energy in its body is gathered together, it will be hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of times more than this cloud transformation realm demonic beast. Do you understand? Of course I do. But this cloud transformation realm demonic beast didn't explode after eating so much energy, and its body couldn't absorb so much energy at all. So where did all the energy go? A considerable part of it is excreted by the movement of feces, and the most essential part is hidden in the blood, flesh, and bones of the cloud transformation realm demonic beast. So, where many star beasts live, treasures of heaven and earth are easy to grow. People say that treasures of heaven and earth must be guarded by powerful star beasts, but it is wrong. The order should be reversed. First, there are powerful star beasts, and then there are treasures of heaven and earth. Because this place is full of energy. Qin Fangyang said, "Do you understand now?" Yes. For ordinary people, one bite of this meat that contains such a large amount of spiritual energy will make their body explode. It will be like eating a bomb, or even more powerful than a bomb. A bomb can blow up the human body, but it can't blow up the meridians. But this meat targets the blood vessels and meridians of the whole body first. If the body can't bear it, it will collapse and explode. Qin Fangyang said, and this kind of meat is a rare tonic for warriors who have reached a certain level. However, just like how cloud transformation realm demonic beasts eat those star beasts as food, their cultivation base may increase rapidly when they eat the star beasts for the first or second time. But as they eat more and more of this kind of demonic beast meat, their body composition will naturally increase with the addition of this kind of spiritual energy. When its body is saturated with this kind of spiritual energy, this kind of meat will no longer have any effect on it. This is the most basic principle. Qin Fangyang looked at the 200 kilograms of king centipede meat in front of him and said with a smile, "Since you said you have a lot, then I have no reason to refuse if you give it to me. But I have hunted demonic beasts for so many years and have eaten a lot of demonic beast meat. So, although I haven't eaten this kind of king-level demonic beast meat, the most I can bear is 70 to 80 kilograms at most, and that's when I reach the saturation point. So, I will take half of your 200 kilograms. 100 kilograms is the most I am willing to accept." He cut the meat into two halves, put one half into a space ring, and handed the other half back to Zhuo. Zhuo hesitated and didn't take it. Qin Fangyang smiled. "I won't let go of this kind of opportunity to increase my strength. You said you have a lot. If I don't accept it, then I will be unreasonable." Zhuo secretly curled his lips. "You are talking as if you are not unreasonable," Qin Fangyang continued. "But accepting it is one thing, but eating more is a waste. This kind of spiritual meat can make a martial artist grow quickly. If we eat it after we have enough energy, it will really be a waste of God's gift." Zhuo took it back with relief and said, "But this meat is my headache now." Qin Fangyang frowned. "What do you mean?" Zhuo's eyes were a little conflicted. "I have about 80 kilograms of this kind of king-level spiritual meat." Zhuo took out a few more pieces, each weighing 100 kilograms, and said, "Mr. Qin, please help me pass these to Mr. Mu, Mr. Luo Lai, Mr. Hu Ryun, Principal Li Changjiang, Mr. Chiu Yunshang, Sister Lan, Director Jiang Zhongbin, General Sun Baijiang, Sun Fengho, and others." Zhuo took out 1,000 kilograms in one breath. Everyone who had helped him in the past had a share. Back then, everyone had sacrificed a lot for him, in Yin Mao's soul-washing phoenix vein. Now that he had the ability, of course, he had to repay them. And those seniors who sacrificed themselves in the phoenix pulse spirit. "I prepared some money," a total of 100 million. When you go back, you can share it with them. Also, thank them for me. If there are any martial artists or children in the family who have good aptitude and can withstand the spiritual energy, I prepared 2,000 kilograms of meat. You can also share it. Xiaoduo sighed and said, I really want to do more, but with my current ability, this is all I can do. I hope that in the future, I can continue to repay their kindness in the battle to the death. The corner of Qin Fangyang's mouth twitched when he saw this. Are you treating me as a delivery man? This kid was so generous this time. He did not let down everyone's painstaking efforts. Just this act of repaying a debt of gratitude was enough to make him feel gratified, especially when he still remembered that those who sacrificed themselves in the Phoenix Pole Spirit could compensate their families at all times. It made Qin Fangyang feel a boiling heat in his heart, because this was his conscience. Other than that, Qin Fangyang felt helpless. Since he had left that place, he did not want to feel sad because of the scenery. That city where Qianqian spent her whole life. Almost every place had Qianqian's footprints and her breath. But this guy just had to give him such a job as a delivery man that he could not refuse. That wasn't this making things difficult for him? However, on the surface, it was just 1,000 kilograms of meat. But in fact, it was sending those people's martial arts future into his hands. This was really. He had to go. Qin Fangyang could only sigh. Zhuo Xiaoduo sneakily looked at Qin Fangyang's expression. When he saw that he had agreed, he actually rolled his eyes and took out another 500 kilograms. Since Teacher Qin has promised to make this trip, then a guest should not bother two hosts. Give this 200 kilograms to my sister. She's at Shangjing's Nine Heavens Pavilion now. I'll give you her number later. Cough, cough. Since you're going to Shangjing, then Long Yuxing and Wan Lixiu are also there. Give this 200 kilograms to them. With their cultivation, I reckon that each of them can only take 100 kilograms. There will still be a lot left. Just treat it as a sumptuous meal. If I give more, I'm afraid that those two will be stuffed to death. You don't know, those two even drink bathwater. Qin Fangyang took it with a speechless face. He did not even have time to sigh. So Xiaoduo said, there's also Li Zhongming from Dragon Soul High School and Yumoyan. Teacher Qin, since you have nothing to do, aren't you here to visit us? You can't favor one and discriminate against the other. Let's go over and take a look. You don't have to work now and travel all over the world, but traveling everywhere is still traveling. While we're at it, 50 kilograms each. Qin Fangyang's forehead was filled with black lines, and he was speechless. After calculating it himself, he said dejectedly, Guryun and the rest are in Phoenix City. Long Yuxing is in Shangjing. Sunbai is in Sun Moon Pass. Mu Yinyin is in Kunlun Taoism. Qiu Yunshang is in Zizai Taoism. Yumoyan is in Guangdong. Li Zhongming is in Dragon Soul. Student Zhuo Xiaoduo, how big is the Astral Souls continent? How big is the work that you've arranged for me? You plan to let me travel around the entire continent. Zhuo Xiaoduo said carefully, how about I give you travel expenses? I'm very convenient now. 2 sleeves of gold. Get lost. Qin Fangyang scolded angrily, but finally agreed. After calculating the next itinerary, he could not help but sigh. According to the route, he drew a circle on the map and marked each point. It was exactly a circle. It was really fucking round. Even a compass could not draw such a circle. Moreover, the people that he wanted to avoid, this kid did not leave out a single one. They were all included. If he walked this circle, he would not be able to finish it in a month. All right, Qin Fangyang sighed. I have a hard life. I came to see my student, and then my student arranged for me to do the delivery work for millions of miles. This was really a delivery, because even if he had a spatial ring, even if it was the meat of a king-level demonic beast, the effect would inevitably be greatly reduced if it was stored for too long. Qin Fangyang could already foresee the hard work he would have to do in the coming month. I really owe you. Qin Fangyang knocked on Zhuo Xiaoduo's head 3 times in a row. 3 meat bumps could be seen with the naked eye. On the bald head, it was especially eye-catching, just like a 3-headed dragon. Zhuo Xiaoduo almost burst into tears. It was too painful. Now I know what your problem is. Qin Fanyang's expression became serious. He said, "You have tens of thousands of pounds of this meat in your hands. It can be used to upgrade martial artists. At the very least, it can help lower-level martial artists to upgrade a lot. You won't be able to use it all, and the follow-up will be a problem. Even if you consume it with your close friends, you still won't be able to consume so much. If you don't take it out, it will only be a waste to keep it in your hands. But if you give it out for free, you can't bear to do it. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that I can't bear to do it, but I should say that you feel like you're losing out, right?" Xiaoduo drooped his head and said, "Yes, don't you think my thinking is very selfish? Requesting votes. Seems like I can't finish it." Chapter 638. Not selfish. Not selfish at all. Qin Fangyang corrected. "This is what any normal person would think. You, Xiaoduo, are not a savior. You are not an emperor or a prince. You are not a heavenly king or a marshal. You are not a teacher or a principal. You are just an individual. You don't have so many responsibilities to bear. So, you are absolutely right to think this way," Qin Fangyang said with certainty. "Do you understand? If you can have such troubles, it proves that we didn't teach you for nothing, because you have no obligation to take these things out. Even if others pay a price to exchange with you, you have no reason to do so. This is not selfishness. It is because you are not in a certain position. Saint bitches all hope that others will donate all their property to help the poor. But saint bitches rarely take out a single cent, because saint bitches don't deserve to have wealth. They only need to look at other people's wealth, drool, and say strange things." Qin Fanyang chuckled. "Now, you have tens of thousands of kilograms of spiritual meat. You don't want to donate it, but it is a waste to keep it. It is a pity to let it spoil for nothing. Under such circumstances, there are a few choices," Qin Fangyang considered. "One of the choices is to use it to develop your own team. Well, in other words, who do you think will be your team in the future in the Hidden Dragon High Martial School? Or who do you think will be your team in the future? Or your future comrades? Make a small investment. This is not a free gift. They have to use things or wealth to exchange for it. But this is still a huge favor. I believe it will be a great benefit to you. As for how to choose and how to trade, you have to consider it yourself. I won't say more." Xiaoduo pondered. "The other choice is that you can take out a part of it and give it to the soldiers in the Sun Moon Pass. But, to be honest, the people in the Sun Moon Pass don't lack this thing. It is useless to them. So, this choice is dispensable. The reason why I gave you this option is because you have a relationship with the Southern Chief. This matter can be handled through him, and there won't be any future troubles for you. The third option is to look for your headmaster and ask the Hidden Dragon High School to handle this matter in the name of the school. This meat will be used as a reward for students with outstanding results. But the school has to give some compensation. Regardless of wealth, status, or honor, there must be some form of compensation. It must not be given without compensation. This is essential." Xiaoduo listened quietly and did not respond for a long time. At this moment, he was a little confused. Yes, Xiaoduo had never been a great person, let alone a selfless person. 50,000 kilograms of spiritual meat could be used to increase one's cultivation base. Furthermore, it had been obtained from a rare king-grade astral beast. This was his own wealth. Regardless of where it had come from, it was now Xiaoduo's private property. There was no doubt about it. Of course, if he took it out, many people would benefit. This was the truth. But why should I take it out? If I were the marshal and the soldiers fought for me, of course I would take it out. If I were a general, my brothers would accompany me in building a career. For the sake of our camaraderie, I would be willing to take it out. If I were an emperor, I would gladly take it out in order to let my generals and soldiers protect the country and strengthen the country. But I'm not the emperor. I don't have any of the above identities. I'm just a student of the Hidden Dragon High School. Then, if I take it out, it will only be for people to say, 'Good boy.' I think this phrase is too expensive and too cheap at the same time." Yes, Xiaoduo had such a mentality. But his rationality told him that if he kept it in his hands, he would not be able to use up so many high-quality resources no matter what. In the end, it would only cause most of them to be destroyed and wasted for nothing. So Xiaoduo understood what Qin Fanyang had said. However, there was always some resistance and reluctance in his heart. Team, what team do I have? Do I have to use this to tempt my classmates? As long as you become my subordinate, I will increase your skills and cultivation. So Xiaoduo knew that he wouldn't be able to do such a thing. Qin Fanyang looked at Xiaoduo's hesitation. There was a hint of amusement in his eyes, but he was also full of emotion. That's right. Everyone started from this step slowly. From being a young student, to growing up, to graduating, to entering society, to the martial arts world, to the front line. Every step and every stage, one would have a realization of the current situation, the realization of life and the passage of time. But in the student years, in this still, simple era, it was the foundation of everything. In this era, the more you gave, the more you would get in the future. Whether it was wealth, resources, or hard work, it was all the same. He knew very well what Xiaoduo was conflicted about. He also had countless reasons to persuade him. But after thinking for a long time, he came up with a very ordinary and simple reason. Team doesn't mean that you are a subordinate. You have to understand this. Qin Fanyang put one hand on Xiaoduo's shoulder and said softly, Team is a team that will accompany you to conquer the world, to explore the world together, to face dangers together, to face temptations together. I wanted to say brothers, but now you're too far away from that. So I can only say that you are a team. Do you understand this? Xiaoduo's somewhat confused eyes slowly became clear. He bit his lips and said, Yes, I understand. Well, now that this is clear, let's talk about what are resources. Qin Fanyang was very earnest. It had been a long time since he was a good teacher. Resources, what are resources? Do you think that only 100,000 pounds of meat is a resource? Or only pills, treasures of heaven and earth, jade of astral souls, are resources? Qin Fanyang said softly, wrong. Very wrong. Whether it is martial arts, business, or politics, the most important resource will always be connections. Connections? Xiaoduo read slowly, his eyes shining. You may think that you're giving it away for free, but how many people in this world are really fools? How can they not see the benefits? How can they take it with a clear conscience, without any burden? Qin Fanyang patted his shoulder. On the path of martial arts, gratitude and hatred are clearly distinguished, and karma is proof. Where there is gain, there must be retribution. This is the most basic way to have peace of mind and a clear mind. The further you go, the higher your cultivation, the less you will owe others karma. Any bit of karma is also a tie. So you give away some meat that you don't need. It may seem like you're giving it away for free now, but in the future, you will reap the karma of the strong. Is it worth it? As for those who are ungrateful, they're destined not to go far, giving those people benefits. Just treat it as feeding dogs. What's the harm? In any case, when your meat is eventually useless, even if you feed it to the dogs won't care. As the saying goes, there are gains and losses in investment, right? Why can't those narrow-minded and ungrateful people go far? Because there is a sky above your head and a heart in your chest. On the path of martial arts, there's a heart demon. Core, nascent soul, cloud control, and spirit return to mystery. Perhaps these are not very serious, but once you reach the Sky Soar realm, it is a moat that most martial artists can't cross. Because of the heart demon, because you owe too much in this life. Only by transcending the mortal world can you talk about Sky Soar. But if you owe so much karma, how can you transcend? How can you Sky Soar? Every year, countless experts fly back and forth from all over the world to repay their past karma. Do you know why? They say it is for peace of mind, but in reality, they are seeking a path to Sky Soar without being troubled by the heart demon. Why are there always some experts who choose to hide all their cultivation before they reach the Sky Soar realm, mingling with the mortal world and turning into an ordinary person to gain experience? It is all because their state of mind is lacking. On the continent, if 100 returnants experts all stop at the Sky Soar realm, then only one or two will be able to pass this tribulation. The others will stop at the Skysoar realm for hundreds or thousands of years, and even until their deaths, they still can't pass this final hurdle. The first reason is that they owe too much and can't repay it. Do you understand? Qin Fanyang looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo's eyes that had turned from confusion to clarity, and he couldn't help but smile. I understand. Perfect cultivation. Don't let your state of mind be lacking. The so-called "don't get involved in karma" is never just a saying. Qin Fanyang gently stroked Zhuo Xiaoduo's head and said in a deep voice, "From another perspective, this is also for your own sake. If you let this meat rot and don't take it out, I think, in the future, it will cause your state of mind to be lacking. You will always be thinking about this matter and won't be able to let it go. And this lack will be a regret that can't be made up for. Because of your selfishness when you were young, you caused tens of thousands of people to lose the opportunity to take a step forward. When you understand more, every time one of these people dies on the battlefield, you will think about it once. If I had given him the king beast meat back then, maybe he would have been stronger today and wouldn't have died." Zhuo Xiaoduo's hair stood on end, because this was a very likely thing. Qin Fanyang sighed softly. When he was explaining these things to Zhuo Xiaoduo, Qin Fanyang even felt that his own spirit was also undergoing a transformation with Zhuo Xiaoduo. Zhuo Xiaoduo's eyes lit up. I understand. After I set aside the necessary portion, I will give the rest to Principal Yi and Teacher One, and let them distribute and operate it." Qin Fanyang reminded him, "Remember, it is not free. This is also important. Do you understand? If you can take it in name, you must not let it go." At this point, Qin Fanyang suddenly laughed involuntarily and said, "If the hidden dragon expert can't even do this, how can he be qualified to be listed as one of the top 3 experts? I'm worrying too much and thinking too much." So Xiaoduo also laughed. However, he felt that Qin Fanyang's laughter was very meaningful, and he couldn't understand it at the moment. He didn't know why Qin Fanyang suddenly laughed so wretchedly. However, he didn't know that Yi Changqing and Wen Xingtian's spiritual power had already been paying attention to this place. Both of them heard every word that Qin Fanyang taught Zhuo Xiaoduo and couldn't help but smile bitterly at each other. The title of this chapter has been my motto for so many years. Chapter 639. When Xingtian sighed endlessly. Qin Fanyang has grasped Zhuo Xiaoduo's character too accurately, too precisely. This ideological work is simply brainwashing. I'm really ashamed of my inferiority. I don't dare to compare myself to him anymore." Yi Changqing chuckled and said, "Teacher Qin's last sentence was clearly meant for us to hear. He's using words to instruct us. If we can't earn some benefits for Zhuo Xiaoduo this time, Hidden Dragon High School can be considered done for. This Teacher Qin is really not simple. The so-called not simple. Both Yi Changqing and Wen Xingtian's cultivation was higher than Qin Fanyang's, and it wasn't just a level higher. This also meant that Qin Fanyang definitely wouldn't notice their arrival. But Qin Fanyang had already guessed. "I'm here, Hidden Dragon High School definitely won't remain indifferent. It would be strange if no one was paying attention to this place right now. Of course, I'm teaching my students the principles of life, but don't think that I don't know you're here and can eavesdrop without any restraint. If you dare to take my students' things, I'll let your reputation hit the ground the same way you did it. Actually, there's something else," Zhuo Xiaoduo said somewhat embarrassedly. "This time I've also seized a lot of spatial rings." Qin Fanyang let out a carefree laugh. "You can keep the spatial rings you obtained for yourself." The implication was that a little embryonic breath ant like you actually dared to say the word seized. Just you. In a place like the Starlight Mountain Range where experts were as numerous as clouds, even if you were allowed to seize, how many could you seize? Even I didn't manage to seize many, let alone you. Cough, there's more than 1,000. Zhuo Xiaoduo said. Duh. Qin Fanyang was silent. The corner of his mouth twitched for a long time before he said, "Do as you see fit." The only feeling he had now was that his heart was tired, inexplicably tired. Am I too old? Can't keep up with the times? More than 1,000. Fuck. What he didn't know was that's what Xiaoduo. Well, Li Qinglong hadn't finished cleaning up yet. Once all 1,000 rings were opened and sorted out, there would probably be a few hundred more. Most of the people who had come to the Starlight Mountain Range were extremely vicious characters. Killing and robbing was nothing more than a common occurrence. The number of spatial rings they had snatched from the space rings of these vicious people was definitely not a small number. Qin Fangyang was speechless for a long time. He took a sip of tea and rolled his eyes as he looked at the decorations of the villa. Motherfucker, where was I? I forgot it was too shocking. In Yi Changqing's villa, when Xing Tian spat out a mouthful of tea, feeling an indescribable sense of schadenfreude in his heart. It felt so good. The dumbfounded look on Qin Haodong's face really makes me happy. If Qin Fangyang hadn't come, he would have been the one to be stunned. After a long while, Qin Fangyang suddenly remembered. All right, I have another suggestion for you. What suggestion? With so much king-level demon beast meat, even if it was supplied to the entire Hidden Dragon High School, I'm afraid it wouldn't be enough. Do you still remember when you were in the Dragon and Tiger ranking competition? Those teachers who took care of you? That ancestral Dragon High School, Ding Xiulan. That Huayang High School Mahjongxi? That Jade Sun High School teacher Luo Yinling? And that Water City High School principal Gu Qianfan who helped you this time? These people all spread the word in this Netherworld King Palace's bounty. Whoever dares to deal with you will suffer their endless pursuit. These are also huge favors. You can't be indifferent. Rather than returning this karmic favor in the future when you're strong enough, it's better to use the king-level demon beast meat now to repay it. This way, they can owe you a favor. Karmic reversal. Qin Fangyang said, this is a real network of connections all over the world. Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes lit up. That makes sense. Then I'll write a letter to each person later to express my gratitude. I'll still ask Teacher Qin to deliver it. How much do you think is suitable for each family? Qin Fangyang pondered for a moment and said, 3,000 caddies per family. They won't be able to handle it. So Xiaoduo counted with his fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. 15,000 caddies? Yes. Qin Fangyang nodded. Teacher Qin, do you think I should send some to Phoenix City's second high school? So Xiaoduo suddenly became generous. Since he decided to send, he might as well send them all. Qin Fangyang was shocked. Please don't. Don't think about it too much. What's the cultivation level of the children in second high school? How can they withstand a king-level spirit beast? If you send the meat over, you will only send them all to the Western Paradise with a mouthful of meat each. Oh, okay. So Xiaoduo readily accepted. Then he asked, Teacher Qin, do you think my parents can eat this kind of meat? Qin Fangyang scratched his head. This you have to be careful too. Anyway, you can leave some for yourself. When you go home, you can try it. Didn't you say that barbecuing will consume most of the spirit energy? It should be fine if you eat a little, but please don't eat too much. I understand. So Xiaoduo became very cautious. This matter had to be taken seriously. Although his parents might have been almighty in the past, they had no power now. He couldn't let his 2 pieces of meat eat anything wrong. If that happened, he would never forgive himself. He would use cooking methods to greatly reduce the spirit meat's efficacy. In this way, the large amount of spirit meat was finally distributed. Qin Fangyang took 1,500 caddies and sent them to the families of the martyrs. Huayang High School, Yuesun High School, Ancestral Dragon High School, and Yunwan High School. Water City First High School took 3,000 caddies each, so 20,000 caddies were reduced in an instant. That on the other side, Yi Changqing and Wen Xingtian were breathing rapidly. Their hearts ached so much that they couldn't speak. The veins on their foreheads were popping. So much meat was given away by this guy, and it was given to other high school martial artists. This Qin guy is too hateful. He wants the world to be in chaos, and he especially can't stand us Hidden Dragon High School. Wen Xingtian and Yi Changqing clutched their chests, feeling waves of pain in their hearts. Who said we Hidden Dragon High School can't consume so much? How much is this? Enchanting clutched his chest and gasped. We don't need 50,000 to 60,000 caddies. We can consume 50,000 to 600,000 caddies. We're just school students, and there are 5,000 of us. 10 caddies per person is 50,000 caddies. 20 caddies per person is 100,000 caddies. This isn't enough. This Qin Fangyang is clearly doing it on purpose. When Xing Tian was fuming. Of course, Qin Fangyang was doing it on purpose. On one hand, it was for the good of Zhuo. If he gave it away like this, these principals and teachers would probably owe Zhuo a favor for the rest of their lives. This kind of karma was too great. In this way, it was equivalent to paving the way for Zhuo to a certain extent. Yes, as long as Zhuo didn't make too much of a fuss with this action, he could basically move unimpeded in the Yanwu Emperor country. On the other hand, when Zhuo said that there were more than 1,000 rings, Qin Fangyang felt that he had lost his composure at that moment, and it was even more embarrassing that although Qin Fangyang couldn't be sure if anyone was eavesdropping, but putting himself in their shoes, if he was a Hidden Dragon High School student, he would definitely come to eavesdrop. Since that's the case, doesn't that mean that they've heard everything about my humiliation and know about it? Yes, if I didn't give you some trouble, would I still keep you around? There was no other reason, then, to have a clear mind. In this way, when he thought about how the eavesdroppers were furious and heartbroken, he felt an inexplicable feeling that I feel a little good in my heart now. Haha. The rings can also be dealt with in this way. The smile on Qin Fangyang's face grew even wider. The spatial rings you obtain from those bounty hunters should all be top-notch goods. Just based on this, if you were to exchange all the things in your hands for cultivation resources, then I'm afraid you'd be able to completely empty out the entire Hidden Dragon High School, turning all the students into paupers. Zhuo coughed and said guiltily, I didn't think of that. Ha! Qin Fangyang laughed mockingly. He thought to himself, you're like a hungry ghost when you see money. Back then, in order to save some tuition fees, you even made the genius sister into having cerebral palsy. You tricked me so much that I almost took out my salary to help you out, that I really want to believe what you said, but it's a pity that I can't do it. But in the end, he didn't expose him. He only said, the Hidden Dragon High School will definitely deal with this matter properly and beautifully. These words actually touched the hearts of Wen Xingtian and Yi Changqing. This matter had to be done beautifully. Currently, there were 5,000 students in the Hidden Dragon High School, and not everyone had a spatial ring. Even if they did, the majority of them had spatial rings with extremely small contents. They were only able to store their own weapons and some necessities for cultivation and healing. Their spatial rings were already filled to the brim, and there was no excess. It must be known that the rings that Zhuo snatched. Not to mention others, which one of the people who once had these rings weren't ruthless people who wanted to rob others at any time? How could a small storage space be used? Therefore, each and every one of them had an extremely large storage space. If Zhuo was willing to contribute it, it would be a huge windfall, a dazzling number. Yi Changqing even thought, if we add the loot from the Hidden Dragon High School this time in the Starry Mountain Range, it should be enough for the students to use. However, this still couldn't be done for free. Whether it was the student involved or the school, they had to pay a certain price. But as for what method to use, this still needed to be considered. It was absolutely impossible to give it away for free, and it couldn't be done. This is a matter for later. At the very least, I have to take out the things in the rings and get rid of them first. Zhuo coughed. Speaking of getting rid of these things, you also need a considerable amount of channels, and you also need time. And you also need a considerable amount of experience. Qin Fangyang knocked on Zhuo's head again and said, I see that you have become stupid after coming to the Hidden Dragon High School. You only need to count the things and keep the things you need. If you don't need them, just give them to the people of the Hidden Dragon High School and let their professionals deal with it for you. You only need to be responsible for collecting the money, right? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.